He's looking forward to the weekend. Friday, getting down on Friday.
The Cardinals win!
Cardinals are coming. Tra la 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 la. The Cardinals are coming. Tra la tra la. The Cubbies are going. Tra la tra la. Look out on the Bears. Tra la tra la. The Cardinals are coming. Tra la tra la. The Cubbies are saying.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis with Brooke Grimsley and Super Bowl champ Randy Carey. I'm not a Super Bowl champ. Hey, you're a Super Bowl champ.
You can be whatever you want to
your ring someday.
I will bring it in. Since we're on the YouTube now, I'll bring it in one day. I'll bring the box that it's in. The box is broken a little bit, but it's okay. I'll bring the box in with the ring in it, and you can have it. You can wear it for the day.
I would love to do that and be a Super Bowl champ today.
You can say it.
He's Super Bowl champ Carey Davis. I'm like old broadcaster Randy Carey, but I do know this.
The number of the day really hops and kicks. The number of the day is 6.
How about your Redbirds?
Wow. Another day. Another reason not to sell anything. Nobody's going anywhere.
What's it all about, Brooke?
It's about winning,
Love.
and it's not
Love.
and love. They are powered by love right now. Love is pushing them, and they are showing you're not going to take my friend away. You're not going to take my brother away from me. We're going to win, and we're going to change your mind, John Moseylock.
Yeah.
Ignore whatever that was in the first half.
All those games. Yeah.
Just forget about that. We love each other now, and we're playing for each other now.
Except one guy that really doesn't understand where they are is the manager who said, I don't care if we're playing the Cubs. Doesn't matter that we're playing the Cubs. Read your room, manager. Okay? You're playing your fans' biggest rival. You've got a bunch of people wearing red up there. It really kind of should matter who you're playing when you're playing the Cubs. You can say it about the Reds. You can say it about the Diamondbacks next week. I don't care who we're playing. Don't say it about the Cubs. Ew.
They're winning. They're winning. That's what matters. But sometimes I think you do need to lean into the rivalry a little bit. It's the Cubs. We know what this means. We understand what this road trip here means. So we're going to take care of business accordingly.
One time, 1985, me and Bob Ramsey would stick around forever to wait for Jack Clark to come out because he said such great stuff. And the Cardinals were going to New York, and that rivalry was heated at that point. It was like August. And we stayed around for an hour to wait to talk to Jack, and it was great. I might even have the cut somewhere. He said, yeah, we want to go up there and get a little blood.
You see, that's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear.
Right.
It just adds even more to the excitement, the rivalry, and also what's happening right now with the Cardinals. This series matters more than ever for them.
And especially for one guy who seriously wanted to get a little blood and did in the first inning.
Swing and a shot into the left field corner. That's going to one-hop off the ivy. It's 1-0 St. Louis. Contreras on his way to second. He's in safe with a double.
The former Cub with the RBI double to put the Cardinals up 1-0 in the first inning. Chip with the call on Ballet Sports. Chip will join us, by the way, at 9:30. Cardinals weren't done in the fourth inning. Tyler O'Neill is back and on base for the rookie.
Swing, fly ball, well hit, left. That ball's going, gone. Welcome to Wrigley Field, Jordan Walker. It's 3-0 St. Louis.
That was pretty cool. The Cardinals built their lead up to 5-1 in the fifth inning when Hannes stepped in.
This one driven toward right. Suzuki going back toward the well. That ball is into the basket. DeYoung hits a two-run homer the other way. He hit it hard, and Mother Nature did the rest.
Oh, that's the Cubby killer right there.
There it is. Yep.
Paul DeYoung, ask him about the Cubs rivalry. I'm sure he enjoys it.
He had to deal with it at Illinois State.
Oh.
Yeah, so, you know, he didn't want to deal. And he, by the way, has hit very well at Wrigley Field. Cardinals wind up winning by a score of 7-2. And our buddy, Steven Matz, you talk about the opening drive bump, okay? Steven Matz gets together with us at Adam Wainwright's Swing for Impact event over at Topgolf, right?
Yes.
And he's in the bullpen at that time. He said, yeah, I'd like to start again at some point. Last night, Steven Matz goes 5 innings. He allows 1 run on 3 hits. threw 97 pitches, but only walked 1 and struck out 6. And he has turned into a veritable monster for your St. Louis Cardinals. I don't know if Steven Matz can be stopped. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. There was a Cardinal that wore number 32 and threw left-handed back in the late 60s, early 70s.
He's in the Hall of Fame, isn't he?
Yes, he is. And here's another one on the way.
No.
I think here's the thing. If baseball...
I mean, I like him, but...
Yeah, come on, Brooke.
No.
Work with me here.
I'm happy that he is such a nice person. It was great. It was a great time. He's a Hall of Fame person, Randy.
Okay.
There
He's
we
got
go.
a Hall of Fame
Hall
heart.
of Fame person. He would get a sash like Greg did in high school.
July, 17 innings pitched. He struck out 12, Steven Matz has, and he has yet to be defeated in this month. So with the 17 innings, he's been fantastic. So let's just go with it here and say that he's
It was
great.
his first win
There
of
you
the
go.
season.
More
We got
importantly,
to celebrate that.
Is what we're
His
talking
first
about.
win since July something 2022, I believe.
Yeah, so let's give him some credit. He deserves some props.
He does.
Good for Steven Matz. And the Cardinals will try to do it again today as they continue. It's a 4-game series at Wrigley Field. And today is an Apple game. We're going to talk to Apple analyst and former Cardinal Ryan Spilborghs later on in the show. But today's game, all 3 games left in the series are 1:20 starts. And Jack Flaherty will make his second to last start for the Cardinals, and he'll go against Cubs All-Star Justin Steele. Nothing like a 1:20 Friday afternoon game at Wrigley. It's as good as it gets.
You said something in there right there before you mentioned you said you had a qualifier on Jack Flaherty.
I said his second to last start for the Cardinals.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You think?
Yes.
I think so.
Well,
I would be stunned
Enjoy it
if he
while it
pitched
lasts.
another game in a Cardinal uniform at Busch Stadium.
enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, hopefully he's great today. Hopefully he increases his market value and gets to a place where they really have a chance to win.
My question has been, what are they going to do? They're going to, if they continue to win and you get rid of your two of your 5 starting pitchers, where the hell are you going to go?
Because the thing is, and I understand the randomness as much as anybody of the postseason, but here would be my question. If you don't change and you slink into the playoffs, well, no, if you make the playoffs, you aren't slinking it. You're going to be hot going into the playoffs. But who starts game 1 of a playoff series against Spencer Strider for you?
If
Max Fried will be
with
back.
Flaherty
Yeah.
and with Montgomery gone, then it leaves you Miles.
Yeah. Who?
Unless you're bringing somebody that just knocks their socks off.
But even if you keep those guys, if you have
Jordan Montgomery,
Michaelis Montgomery Flaherty, do you
Then it
feel
would be
really
Montgomery.
good?
it would be Montgomery.
Yeah.
That
Do
would
you-
be the best option.
And how do you feel about going against Strider, Fried, Wright in a 3-game?
Don't feel great about that.
I don't either.
No.
So that's, I think, where the Cardinals need to look is even if this pitching gets hot, you've got a bunch of, at best, 2, 3, 4, 5s. You don't have a legit number
We
1.
can't do what the Dallas Mavericks did and just throw away the final game of the season with an opportunity to make it to the playoffs.
No,
because
but-
Rocc says they weren't going to win the world championship. Then everybody in the playoffs,
True,
every superstar got hurt. But every one of them,
Saved them their
all
draft.
of them.
It saved them their draft pick, though. It worked.
But if you have the ability to make the playoffs on the last day without those guys, fine. My point is, number 1, I've got 2 points, actually, which is kind of unusual for me. But point number 1 is that the real, I said it on Martin Kilcoyne's show on the 2 Fox, and I've said it here. Don't believe what you see.
Yes.
They're playing the Cubs. They're playing loose. This is not real, okay? The other point that I'd like to make is what would happen if you don't trade the guys? You get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs like you did by Philly last year. And then Flaherty and Montgomery and Hicks and O'Neill and all those guys walk as free agents. Then what have you done for yourself?
Exactly. And that's where it's very nice what we're seeing right now. And we don't know if it's just them playing looser because of, you had Mozeliak go and address the media saying that they are going to make some trades, or maybe it's guys fighting for each other a little bit more. The thing is, they should have done it a little bit sooner, because now you put your Pobo in a position where he does have to look at that. He has to think about the expiring assets. And while they're hot right now, you have to think about the expiring assets that you have, and you have to get something in return. You just do.
Yeah.
And that's where it's such a tough position to be in, because you're going to say goodbye to some guys you don't want to see. It's
Goodbye
nice
to
to
guys
see.
you love.
Yeah, to the guys that you love and that they're fighting for. And it's nice that they're hot right now. This kind of looks like the team that Mozeliak and Ollie Marmol were hoping we would see at some point a little bit earlier in the season. Your offense consistently looking a little better. Your starters actually looking like decent starters, all coming together. It's just what day is it? July 21st. It's a little late for that.
By the way, Cardinal offense through June, 8.5 hits a game. In July, 10.1 hits a game. Through June, 4.6 runs a game. In July, 5.6 runs a game. They've added a run per game to their offense. Through June, 7 left on base per game. 7.9 now because you're getting so many more on base. 250 batting average before July, 291 in July. 324 on base goes to 369. A 422 slug goes to 480. And their 745 team OPS is 848 for the month of July. The offensive numbers are astounding, and these are the numbers that Carey and I predicted at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. You just got to outslug everybody.
No question.
Yeah.
You do that, you have success.
But even with their starters,
Pitching has been better.
yes, even with their
Been
starters,
fantastic.
Bally Sports Midwest, they put up a graphic last night. The starters since July 6th have a 2.38 ERA. That makes a difference.
Yeah, that's how
huge
you win.
difference.
Pitching. That's what it's all about. So there, we're off and running here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, a lot of trade rumors around baseball. Baseball's going crazy with the rumors. I don't know if we'll have many trades, but we sure have a lot of rumors, and they're next on 101 ESPN.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare information guide absolutely free. Call 800-969-1199. That's 800-969-1199. 800-969-1199.
Hey, this is Tim McKernan, and I am here with Seth Goldcamp of Design Air Heating and Cooling, and I have been a long-time Design Air client. What separates you guys from everybody else?
It's becoming more common for companies to just get their foot in the door. They try to come up with different ways to upsell. They try to see how much they can make off of a customer, as opposed to, hey, we're in there to do a service. We're going to do it well. We're going to do it for a fair price.
I don't know how many emails I have received from our listeners who experience the incredible customer service Design Air Heating and Cooling provides. It's Design Air Heating and Cooling, online at designairservice.com.
Live from the Car Shield studio, this is the Opening Drive on 101 ESPN.
And right now, I think the Cardinals have enough talent on their roster based on the schedule they have remaining to wake up the ghost. Do I think they can deter John Mozeliak of taking advantage of an opportunity? And that's what this is. Even when you're bad, it's an opportunity. The trade deadline is an opportunity to make your roster better for next year. I think the Cardinals are going to sell. I think guys are going to get traded. I don't think they're going to add any major pieces. But don't be shocked if young guys get an opportunity and the core stays and remains and they actually continue to play really well down the stretch.
That's Greg Amsinger, MLB Network, yesterday here on the Opening Drive on 101 ESPN. And there have been cases in the past where teams have been thought to have sold and they wound up playing better down the stretch and even making the playoffs. And it most recently happened with the Yankees in 2016 when they moved both Andrew Miller and Aroldis Chapman and actually wound up playing better. But it's happened multiple times. I hope that the Cardinals guys, with the sitting of Dylan Carlson, who did come in as a defensive replacement in center field last night, I sure hope that they are just simply showcasing Tyler O'Neill. And I would think if they were planning on moving Dylan Carlson at the deadline, and the Yankees, according to Derek Gould, have shown interest in Dylan Carlson, and the Cardinals have expressed interest, apparently, in Yankees' young right-hander, minor leaguer Clayton Beeter. But if you're going to try to trade a guy, wouldn't you want him to play? Wouldn't you be showcasing him? That's my thought process. I hope that I'm right there.
Unless you don't want him to get hurt.
Healthy. Yeah, that's what.
Well, yeah, that could be. But then why would you play O'Neill?
Because you need to showcase him as well. I think that they definitely are moving on from Tyler O'Neill with this whole situation. There's no way. I know that Tyler O'Neill, he spoke a lot to media members yesterday about putting things in the past, all that. I get that. You can forgive, but never forget. I don't think that he sees himself moving forward with the Cardinals organization in the way that everything has happened. Even pre that whole kerfuffle with Oli Marmol, you had
was that a brouhaha or a kerfuffle?
A brouhaha kerfuffle. It was all
brouhaha,
of it.
I think, is a little bit more substantial than a kerfuffle.
Yeah, we'll call it a brouhaha
Okay,
then.
good.
So that brouhaha he had with Oli Marmol, Tyler O'Neill, even prior to that, when you had all the back and forth with arbitration, Tyler O'Neill was very open about that, about how that kind of changed things with him and his perception of the Cardinals organization. But of course, he's going to be a player. He's going to move forward. I just think his time here with the Cardinals is done. So you're going to showcase him. I think that with Dylan Carlson, the fact of the matter is you don't want to see him go. I think that we've heard Katie Woo even mention the other day with BK and Ferrario that she thinks that he will go and be a star elsewhere. I think we can all see that happening, but maybe they just don't see the value in him here in big picture. And also you can actually get more value from him than you could, say, a Tyler O'Neill who hasn't played this season.
Here's the thing that I think that I was missing out on until it struck me this morning, is we aren't thinking about center fielder Tommy Edman. I wouldn't be surprised if both O'Neill and Carlson go so that they can play, because they're committed to Lars Nootbaar. He's going to play left field. And they're committed to Walker. He's going to play right. Mm-hmm. And I believe, based upon what they said about Tommy Edman before he went on the IL, that they're committed to him in center field. I think that's your outfield, and Alec Burleson is your fourth guy. I kind of think that both Carlson and O'Neill probably go.
That's what I see, too. And Tommy Edman, they are really high on him as their center fielder.
Yeah, Tommy Edman did a fantastic job at center field. When you're looking at trading people away, trading Tyler O'Neill, I don't think would be that difficult for the team because he's been injured for most of the season. He's been in Memphis and rehabbing and all over. He hasn't been with the team. So that's not as big of a deal as trading away a guy that has been with you the entire season. I guess my fear for the trade deadline and all of the rumors that you have, we talked about Josh Hader being traded last year and the what they called it a Hader haze, what Milwaukee went into after that trade, because players in that clubhouse were saying, well, what the hell are we doing? Are we trying to win? Are we trying to be the best we can be for this season? Or are we just looking forward to what's going to take place next season and worried about the owner's pocketbook and not wanting to pay Josh Hader going forward? That is something that if you're looking at this Cardinals team and if they continue to win, and you start to trade away players that are on this roster that are playing extremely well and performing extremely well, you could have guys in that club. I was wondering, what are we doing? The future is the future. We can't worry about the future if we have something right now, right here. And they're kind of showing some life. I mean, not kind of. They are showing some life. Wish they would have done it earlier so they didn't have to put themselves in this predicament. But they are showing an opportunity to make a push here. And you know, to start trading away players could be tough for that clubhouse to deal with.
And they have shown a propensity to misevaluate talent. And that's, I'm not concerned about O'Neill because I think he's going to get hurt. But I think that Dylan Carlson has a chance to be a really good player. And if I were the Cardinals, and they evaluate differently than most teams, clearly, but I would be very concerned about Dylan Carlson becoming great at the age of 24 with a team like the Yankees.
And maybe that's just the way that they see it, is that that's something that they have to part with in order to help not just, well, even moving forward with next season, because you have so many question marks when it comes to the starting rotation next season that you have to figure out some way moving forward. And that's the predicament we're in. They're hot right now. Everything looks great. They're clicking in the ways that you've dreamed of and hoped this entire season what this team and roster was capable of. But can you sell while also still win at the same time?
I don't think you can win the division. I think you can still compete and play the way they've been playing. Doesn't it seem like they should be able to? Granted, they've won 8 of 9 now, and they've won 6 in a row.
The number of the day really hops and kicks. The number of the day is
6. But can they be a team that they get to mid-September, late September, and you say, wow, they could make a run in the playoffs? I thought last year's team had a chance to make a run in the playoffs. I thought the 21 team had a chance to make a run in the playoffs.
They did have a run. They did have a chance last year.
Yeah.
It was a misfortune, a mistake, so to speak, of taking Quintana out of that game.
Yes, it was.
In that moment.
I don't have confidence in this particular group, even though it's many of the same players, to be able to make a run. And part of that is the other teams in the National League are really good. I think the Giants are way better than the Cardinals are. Obviously, I think the Dodgers are better than the Cardinals are. I think the Braves are the best team in the National League. I think the Braves should be a prohibitive favorite on FanDuel Sportsbook to represent the National League in the World Series. I kind of like what's happening with Philadelphia. I just think there are so many teams out there that if the playoffs started and the Cardinals made it and there's 6 playoff teams, I think the Cardinals would be number 6. That being said, last year I thought the Phillies were number 6 and they wound up in the World Series.
They surprised everybody.
Yes, they
you
did.
just have to get hot at the right time. It's just a very interesting situation that they're in. I don't want to see. I think sometimes when you talk about trading certain players, nobody wants to see that player go because you know the potential that they'll go be successful. Dylan Carlson is 24 years old. There's a high upside, but for some reason, it seems like they still hold against him. You know, they feel like he can't face righties. I wonder if that is also a factor in why they feel like they feel comfortable moving on from him. He has had sporadic injuries here and there last season and then this season as well. It just seems like he was the outside looking in. Even remember when he returned and Lars returned from injury, who was still your center fielder?
Yeah, he was, right? He was.
Tommy Edman.
Well, that's true, yeah.
Yeah, Tommy Edman.
Again, we forget about Tommy Edman.
I would like to see an outfield that had Dylan Carlson, Jordan Walker, and Lars Newbar. That would be, and then you have Tommy Edman playing second base and Paul DeYoung until Mason Wynn gets here. Now that leaves out Brendan Donovan, but you also have guys need days off. That's why he has 5 gloves. You can put him, he is the utility gold glove. When he is that's his job. That's his role. You have Gorman at DH and you have Wilson Contreras behind the plate. And when those guys need a break, you got Herrera, you got Brendan Donovan. You have people that can help that help them out.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the best roster that they could have, but you know, you haven't given Dylan Carlson enough at-bats. He's only had 178 at-bats this year. Now, granted, he's missed time because of injury, but even still, he hasn't been an everyday player when healthy as well. So I think it's unfortunate for him, and when you look at him getting 400, 500 at-bats in a season, he probably will be what we've talked about, what his potential is. I don't think his ceiling is as high as Nolan Gorman's ceiling, but I do think it's up there.
Yeah, and they're both, well, Gorman 23, Carlson 24. They're so young, and they do have a future. Meanwhile, I don't think the Cardinals, as they go through this whole process, will have to look for relievers. It looks like Ryan Tepera is here for the long term.
Oh, wait a minute. Didn't something happen with him yesterday?
What? Well, hold on. You guys got to check notes, or what? He's my guy.
You already got his jersey, didn't you?
Yeah, he's my favorite player.
101 ESPN breaking news alert.
Well, he's here for good.
Ryan Tepera has been DFA'd.
Oh.
Are you sure that they didn't mix up him with Kyle Leahy?
Because Kyle threw that ball right at that young man's head and almost hit another one.
Maybe they did an oopsie and they meant Kyle Leahy and then oopsie. Just kidding.
So, with Tyler O'Neill coming back, Ryan Tepera, we hardly knew you. I know you're watching on the YouTube, 101 ESPN STL, and we're going to miss you because he's just a swell guy.
It was like we didn't even get to know him.
Grim Reapers put up numbers this season. Taylor Motter, Trey Barrera, Kyle Leahy,
Oscar
Mercado. I mean,
You got to get rid of him. But did you guys see what happened last night? I don't know. It was just nice knowing Ryan Tepera and soon to be Kyle Leahy, soon to be former Cardinals.
Why do you guys not like consistency?
I loved,
he's consistent.
He did the same thing every game.
Consistency, it depends. The consistency, the type of consistency matters.
But you knew what you were
matters.
getting. But you knew what you were getting.
Yeah, how about this
If you
stat?
know what you're getting.
Kyle
Jordan
Leahy.
Hicks.
How about this? Kyle
Leahy,
Leahy has appeared in 3 games for the Cardinals this season. He's given up at least 1 run, 1 hit, and walked at least 1 in each of his 3 outings.
Okay.
And has yet to record more than 2 outs in any of those appearances.
And hit a man in the head yesterday.
Yeah, that's not
dangerous.
good.
Think about how that helps with game planning.
How?
Throws everybody off, keeps them on their feet.
You think here we are. We have a 3-run lead in the 5th with 1 out left to go. Let's give the guys a little extra work out there in the field.
Yeah, you got to keep your head on when you're facing him.
Please.
Coming up next on 101 ESPN, our buddy Jay Delsing is going to join us. Rory McIlroy is rocking and rolling on this morning at the Open. He is 1 under as he plays number 13, and we'll talk to Jay about the Open and the ostentatiousness of the British people next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update. Driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals continue their winning streak, pushing it to 6 with a 7-2 win over the Cubs. Steven Matz with his start, 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and then 6 strikeouts. Cardinals are back in action in Game 2 of this series. It's on Apple TV this afternoon. 1/21st pitch. It'll be Jack Flaherty for the Cardinals facing off against the lefty Justin Steele for the Cubs. Steele on the season 9-3 with a 2.96 ERA. Coming up at 8:30 on the show, we're going to have an earlier fight at 8:15 because we'll be joined by former Cardinal and Apple analyst Ryan Spilborghs to talk about that game later today. That is your Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff. Find new roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
And Matthew does need a fighter for that early fight at 8:15. You can text in to 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. If you want to fight, just send in your name and the word fight, and maybe Matthew will pick you to fight. Brian Harman just hit a shot out of one of those pot bunkers at the Open at Royal Liverpool. Harman leads at 8 under. He's 4 under for the day through 16 holes. Tommy Fleetwood is at 5 under alone in second place. We head to the celebrity line, and our buddy Jay Delsing joins us, as he does every Friday morning here on 101 ESPN, and you can hear Golf with Jay Delsing Sunday morning at 9. Jay, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, guys. Who found out that your text line came out with yo-ho?
I was the one that started that. It was the only word I could come up with. It's pretty awesome, isn't it?
It is awesome. It was really awesome, and I hope you don't ever stop.
Some people get very upset about it, Jay.
They gotta relax, man. There's golf on in the morning, and just relax a little bit, get some coffee, chill out.
Jay, I don't like those pot bunkers.
No, I don't either. I've been in them, Randy. They suck. They are not friendly. They are not your friend. So, guys, what those are, they're called stack sod bunkers. So imagine sod just being stacked on top of each other, and in between times that they'll have the Open Championship there, they'll change the height of those. Sometimes they'll come in at 3 feet. Sometimes the next year or next time the Open's there, they'll come in at 8 feet. They are they are crazy because they're round and they're deep. They're not fun. I got in one when I was playing in the British Open at St. Andrews, and I was about 12 feet from the flagstick, and I had to go 100% the opposite direction from the flag because I couldn't stand because of the roundness of the bunker. I couldn't stand to the left of the ball to face the flag. I had to stand to the left of the ball and hit it exactly opposite from the flag. Wow. And my caddy says to me, that happens all the time. I said, not over in the States, it doesn't, brother.
Well, Rory had one of those yesterday, and he didn't try it. He didn't try to move back up. He tried to go straight up, and it bounced off of the wall. And then he had a really difficult shot out of the left side where he had to put his leg up on the edge of the grass right on the fringe there, and he somehow was able to get up and out and within 10 feet. But the way those guys get out of the sand, the way you guys, you pro golfers get out of the sand, even in those, is remarkable.
Well, we hit it in there a lot, Randy, so we get lots and lots of practice. So that's what happens. Oftentimes, especially in major championships, you'd rather have it in U.S. Opens, let's say. You'd rather have it in the bunker than some of the really, really tall grass. But over in Europe, man, if you can stay out of those, especially in the fairway, you've got a real chance. But what I'm interested in, guys, did you see this young amateur from Georgia Tech? Lambrick is 6'8". He's taller than 9 of the basketball players on the Georgia Tech basketball. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, and he's off to a great start. He's +1 for the day, but still 4 under for the tournament. And yeah, he's got a chance because of his height. If he plays like that, he could be a really unique player in golf.
He is. I think Faldo didn't really know how to describe him when he was hitting his opening tee shot this morning. He said he's kind of all elbows and knees and elbows, and I think he was thinking of a couple other words. He didn't want to say it on national TV. So, yeah, but it's fun, especially to watch. As the game grows, there was nobody really when I played that was my height. Andy North was the closest, and it's interesting to see these kids now coming out much taller, much stronger, and man, they just absolutely crush the ball.
Jay, when you are in a bunker, what are some tips for getting out? What's the best way to go about that?
So, one thing to think of, I think that gets people kind of screwed up, Carey, is that whenever you need to get the ball high, you need to hit a high and kind of soft shot because you're near the green. The ball's got to go up in the forward part of your stance. Okay, so I see so many people with the ball kind of in the middle of their stance, and it's just going to give them this middle level shot. And if you got a lip like you see at the British Open to get over, the ball's got to be up in your stance, and then your hands, they need to stay kind of more towards the middle of your stance, and it's going to be awkward because that gives you almost like a negative shaft lean. So your shaft is actually pointing back for right-handed golfers, back towards your right leg, but that's the way to get some height on the ball and not to hit it too far. So you have to swing and feel like the bottom of that wedge, which is called the bounce, just drives into the sand about 2 inches behind the ball. Then you keep it going and you don't let the face get turned over. So the face rolls over when you typically hit an iron shot. I know this is really hard to do on radio, but that's the way to do it. And splash the sand out and keep it going. Keep the club going and keep it moving. And that ball will just pop up and go nice and high and get out of there.
Well, Jay, it's not a major championship unless there's some sort of rule controversy. What do you think with Rory McIlroy yesterday? Did he break a rule or not?
I don't think he did. It's so hard to tell these days, Brooke. I don't think he did. I try to give the players, especially a guy like McIlroy that has so much integrity and does so many things right. I mean, anybody can inadvertently break a rule, but I didn't think he did. It's a pair of sixes, though. Really, I mean, it's hard to tell.
Jay, do you? And I know that there are some players on tour that really complain about pace of play, but specifically to players' setup. We were just watching Brian Harman get ready to drive, and it took him like 10 seconds, and he's lifting the club and putting it down, lifting the club and putting it down. Does it ever drive you crazy when somebody just won't swing the damn club?
Oh, yeah. Sergio Garcia waggled. That's called a waggle. Mm-hmm. Sergio, I don't know where we come up with. So golfers have the dumbest names for certain things. Tell me, what the hell's a waggle? Anyway, Sergio Garcia milked the club, changed the grip on his iron shot when he first got over here 37 times. People were just fine. So when I'm playing with someone like that, I just turn away because it just Brian Harman looks like he's got like a nervous twitch or something.
Yeah.
With that, it's like, wait a second, nope, not going to hit it that time, And then all of a sudden he pulls the trigger, and God bless him, he's leading the tournament, guys. On my show, we have been on fire with our picks. Our two dark horse picks this week were Brian Harman and Minwoo Lee. And right now I'm looking at this leaderboard, and they're first and they're sixth. And so I'm not wanting you to spend any of your money, but you might want to think about putting a couple of shekels on some of our picks. We have been on fire.
You know what's amazing is the biggest star in the top 10 right now is Wyndham Clark, who just won the U.S. Open. You aren't finding, you look down the leaderboard. I mean, DJ's at plus 14. You got Daly at plus 13. You've got Justin Thomas at plus 11. You've got a lot of players that, if the cut were now, would not make the cut. And then in the top 10, the big guys haven't really made it yet to the leaderboard.
No, they haven't, and it's interesting. And something about the way that they have this golf course set up, you guys, is knocking the better players out. John Rahm, I don't know if you're watching John Rahm, and it might have to do with the wind direction and the speed of the wind, according to their tee times. Because John Rahm is a fader of the ball, which means he likes to hit everything left to right, and it looks like he's in a stretch of holes in this golf course where the wind is blowing left to right. So he's hitting these fades in the wind, and it's getting blown all over the place. So it's really an interesting and golf over there is interesting too, guys, because when you look at the golf course Liverpool this week and you see it green, it simply means that they've been getting quite a bit of rain. Those guys in Europe don't water their golf courses. They water them probably 1/10 of what we water our golf courses here. So usually the golf courses are indicative of what the local weather's been. And they've been getting a lot of rain over in northern England where Liverpool is. And so it typically means when the golf courses are green, it'll typically mean lower scores. But I guess the wind is scheduled to blow anywhere between 10 and 30 miles an hour this week, and that makes it really tough.
Hey, Jay, I was looking at John Daly. He just took a tee shot. He's +7 right now, but I got to know, is he one of the one of the golfers that has lived the best life in golf?
Man.
I got to tell you, John, he told me when I had him on my show that he's lost somewhere between $60 and $70 million in the casino. And so I'll tell you another story that's really fun. We're playing at Memphis, and I was just going through a divorce, and it was really a tough time. And he said to me, "Hey, man, I heard you're going through a divorce." And I said, "Yeah." And we were standing on the 13th tee. And I said, "Hey, John, how much money do you pay each month in alimony?" And he said, "Oh," and we got up there, and he hit this big duck hook, and I'm sure he's probably pissed at me. He's like, "Yeah, Delsing's bringing up my alimony, you know," and I happened to hit one way out to the right. And so we took off the tee, and he was over there counting and doing all this stuff and smoking and, doing what he does. And we get to the green, and he walks right by me, and he goes, "I pay 75 and walks right by me. And I lost my breath. I was like, 75 what? He goes, "Yeah, I got 5 of them. I pay $75,000 a month," and it was hard to play the rest of the day. It was amazing. So John Daly is such an honest. He's a great guy. You just don't want to marry to your sister, but he's so fun to play golf with. And he really is.
Jay, I have heard multiple stories about he'll decide within an hour of his tee time whether or not he's going to make his tee time, and he'll get to the course literally 5 minutes before his tee time. No warm-up, no range, just walk right to the tee and hit away.
I saw it happen. We were playing, and his daughter was about 13, and she was caddying for him, at least carrying the bag until they got to the first tee. They didn't go to the locker room. They went right to the first tee. John had an Egg McMuffin, a cigarette, and a Diet Coke, and she had a big bag of food so that was their breakfast. They went right to the first tee and met his caddy there, and off they went.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Who do you got on the show on Sunday?
We have Adam Betts, and last week guys, we had Barbara Nicholas on the show. It's really fantastic. But Adam is the proprietor down at Family Golf and Learning Center. Brooke, your name got mentioned. We know that you're taking golf lessons, learning to swear and throw clubs. And when you throw a club,
it is it's testing my patience, Jay. But they are doing a wonderful job over there at Family Golf and Learning Center. It's me getting to the point where I'm starting to understand the love and hate that comes with golf.
And Jay, the key is actually the Egg McMuffin, the Diet Coke, and the cigarette,
I took
right?
notes of that.
Of course, you got to stay fit. I mean, you got to stay fit. And Brooke, don't ever throw your club backwards because it's just additional walking. Throw it forward, pick it up on your way. Maybe throw it at the cart or throw it at Randy or throw it at Carey. So don't throw it at Carey. Carey will break you in half.
So, Jay,
that's good advice.
I started playing when I was about 25 and thought I should be good like we all do. And I had an inexpensive set of clubs, fortunately. Got mad, broke a club over my knee. Said to myself, I'll never do that again. That's just stupid. And it was. So I'm out playing with Mike Kelly one time, voice of the Missouri Tigers. And I hit a bad tee shot, and I gently helicoptered my driver towards the cart, thinking, okay, it'll just fall before the cart. It hits the back bumper of the cart and breaks in half. It was a gentle helicopter.
I don't know
Jay.
if you can gentle helicopter that.
So there's one way, if you really want to guarantee that you break it, guys, is you throw it up and down, so you don't helicopter it horizontally. Mm-hmm. Those shafts break, and I've heard that from a friend. I've never done that.
Jay, it's always great to have you with us. Have a great day. Enjoy the Open, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
See ya. Our buddy Jay Delsing on 101 ESPN. Next up, get your text in to the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. It's time for Take It or Leave It next on 101 ESPN.
or text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
It's time for Take It or Leave It on 101 ESPN. Get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. All right, kids, I was thinking about this last night because I think random thoughts now and then. But I was actually doing the Immaculate Grid, which is kind of addictive. And I was trying to think of a player that had played for the Padres and the Rockies. Not that this guy did, but it struck me that Lenny Harris, the all-time leader in pinch hits in baseball, probably has another baseball record that will never be broken because of the advent of the designated hitter. We don't pinch hit for pitchers anymore. Take it or leave it. For eternity, Lenny Harris will lead baseball in pinch hits.
Oh. Yeah. Well, you won't have anybody pinch. I mean, unless someone gets hurt, or you just want to have a matchup versus somebody.
Right, but nobody's going to pinch
it.
You pinch it every day with the pitcher hitting.
Yeah, I will take that.
I'm going to take it too, Brooke.
I'm going to take it. Yeah, that's very interesting. The grid thing is interesting too. So you're enjoying it?
Too much. It makes me think, which I like, but it just takes a lot of my time because I put too much thought into it.
The NFL one, I hate it so much because I'll get like 6 of them, and then I have no idea. I have no idea what the other 3 could possibly be.
You have it pulled up?
I could do it.
Yeah, let me see.
Immaculate Gridiron is the football one, Carey. We could probably make a segment of you doing it like on TikTok after shows. It's so freaking hard.
Okay, give me. Let's play for 1 minute here. Okay, give me a player that played for the Colts and the Chiefs.
Oh, sheesh.
Yeah.
Colts and the Chiefs?
Colts and the Chiefs. And we can go back to the 50s here, as well the 60s, because that's when the Chiefs started. But so I
what was your teams again?
Colts and the Chiefs.
Oh, God.
Any player, offense, defense, special teams.
Tom Bahali didn't play for the Colts.
No. This is tough, isn't it?
Or did he?
Oh, let's do. Okay, we've got Saints and Panthers. How about Sam Mills, right?
Saints and Panthers. Okay.
Sam Mills will be there.
Yes.
Okay, we'll put him in there. Hold it. It's not Sam Malls. It's Sam Mills. Immaculate Grid.
I got another deeper cut if that's not the right answer.
I know Sam Mills played for both.
No, yeah.
There we go. So Sam Mills, yeah. So or Panthers and Colts.
Panthers and Colts.
Wait, there's multiple. There's not like one right answer each day. It can be anybody.
It can be anybody that played for those teams.
Oh, I thought it was a specific person they were looking for.
No, it can be anybody any player that played for the Colts and the Panthers.
A little easier.
So we got where we at? Panthers and
Colts or Chiefs and Colts.
Panthers and Colts.
See, this is.
This is it. This is difficult.
Yeah, Panthers and Colts. So anyway, it makes you think.
Where do you find that at?
Immaculate Grid.
Okay, I'm gonna test my knowledge.
Yeah, you do it every day. It's a great waste of time. All right, what do we got?
Clearly,
so
don't have much of that.
I don't know how we got from Willie Harris to there, but we're not Willie Harris. Lenny. No, Willie. Whatever.
So I was looking at SEC Media Day. Lane Kiffin looks like he just rolled out of bed. I don't know if you all saw
he
the
looked like he
picture.
fell asleep on the beach, is what he looked
He looked like, take it or leave it. We talked about John Daly living the best life as a golfer. Take it or leave it. Lane Kiffin is living the best life of a college coach.
I'm going to take it. Did you hear what he said to a reporter yesterday? A reporter said, I get told that I look like you. And he said, what's your mom's name?
Oh, my God.
Well done.
Oh, man. That is, he was tanned. His hair was flowing.
He had to have been up all night drinking.
Yeah.
He just woke up and said, oh, crap.
He can do that at Ole Miss. He can't do that at USC.
Oh, man. That's very interesting. I'm going to have to take that. Also, I'm going to stick with SEC Media Days, too, because did you guys see on social media, an Arkansas radio host went on there and had this to say about the Arkansas-Mizzou rivalry.
Games. I love how Arkansas people just completely disregard Mizzou.
I know. Because it goes back to the thing where Arkansas is better than them, but they just don't win the game. It's just like, those years that Ole Miss beat Alabama back-to-back years. Was Ole Miss a better team than Alabama? Yeah. No. It just happened, and that's what it feels like with Missouri. Like, Drinkwitz has not had a winning record. That guy's not had a winning record.
South Carolina just said the same thing yesterday. It's like,
yeah,
like we're losing, but we shouldn't be. We were the better team.
Yes, and so that's where it's like I'm putting it as if you measure both teams on the field, talent-wise, all of that. Arkansas is a better team. They should win the game. So that's
take it or leave it. Winning is what matters. Though,
I'll take that.
Like,
it does.
I think I get it. Sometimes a team that is on paper better doesn't go out there and win. I don't know. There's some examples where you could even point to the Cardinals this season. We've seen examples of teams that should be better, have better players, just not go out and perform as expected. But at the end of the day, what matters?
Winning.
There we go. Take it or leave it. That's what matters.
Yeah.
Not that, quote unquote, Arkansas is better on paper. And maybe that was just John. I know John Neighbors. Maybe that was just John trying to, I don't know, bring up more between the rivalry between Arkansas and Missouri, but that's a weird hill to die on.
I think he fits into, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, Brooke. I think he fits into the Arkansas thought process. I think Arkansas is the most tone-deaf sports athletic program in the country.
You're trying to get me killed because I used to cover Arkansas.
I know, but
yeah.
I think he probably falls into this thing that they believe they're better than they really are.
Yes. I would 100% say that. And John, to his credit, he leans into the whole Homer fanboy persona. So maybe that's just what he's doing there, is he's trying to be reflective of that.
Yeah, well, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's nice to think your team is good.
And that is nice. I got one for Colts and Panthers. My friend G texted me, Darius Butler.
Okay, good.
There you go.
Good.
Text line was throwing out a lot of Justin Houston. I'm very mad at myself for not thinking of that.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Good.
Take it or leave it. Mount Rushmore of STL quarterbacks, Randy. Jim Hart, Neil Lomax, Kurt Warner, Mark Bolger.
Hard to disagree. Hard to disagree with that group. I think I will take that.
Do it again. Oh, you lost it.
Jim Hart, Neil Lomax, Kurt Warner, Mark Bolger.
Oh, okay.
I don't think there's anybody we're leaving out.
Yeah, Tony Banks.
I was gonna say, did any of them have a dog named Felon?
Steve Bono, yeah. No. Keith Null, no. Kyle Bowler, no. Bill Donkers, no. Bill Donkers was the backup quarterback for the Big Red.
I'm sorry.
They did not realize this in training camp when the pressure wasn't on. Once he got into a game where the pressure was on, they realized that Bill Donkers stuttered.
Oh,
he goes into the huddle. He goes into the huddle to call a play.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
I cannot.
It did happen.
I'm sure it's not always true, but man, there's sometimes when you hear a name, you're just like, that guy's not going to be an all-star.
You get in
and
that huddle.
If you tell me your name's Bill Donkers, I'm sorry. I'm not seeing you having a Hall of Fame speech at any point. I can't. It doesn't hit the ears right.
Bill Donkers played 2 years, 76 and 77 with the Big Red.
Take it or leave it. The Cardinals should go back to their away caps while on the road and keep the red ones for home games. Tim McKernan's also a big proponent of this, of the navy blue road caps.
All in, 100%.
I like it. Yeah.
100%. When I think of like 04, for some reason it's gray jerseys, navy caps. Like that's for some reason burned in my memory as like when the Cardinals were great, gray jerseys, navy caps.
Let's bring back gray jerseys, navy caps, and Chris Carpenter on the mound.
That would hell yeah. I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
I'd take Matty. I'd take Matty Moe at this point.
How old is he now?
Chris Carpenter? Probably 50.
Yeah,
talking about prime.
We're talking about him right now.
12, 2. No, he'd be our best guy.
Even at 50?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I was talking to Big Mac.
Yeah.
And I said to McGuire, I said, it's weird, but in this day and age, Mark, you would only hit like 32, 33 home runs. He's really? And I said, yeah, but you're 59.
Oh my gosh.
Somebody got away with that joke about Jerry Rice, and it was like
It was hilarious.
Jerry Rice is not the athlete of athletes today. The whole long thing, and then finally just like, I mean, guys like 60. What do you expect? Take it or leave it. The Cardinals get to a 500 record on or before September 1st. They will win the division.
Leave it.
If they get to a 500 record on or before
September 1st,
they're running out of runway here, unfortunately, because Milwaukee doesn't lose. The Cardinals are still 10 behind.
They are.
And so it's kind of unfortunate.
Carp is 48. I might agree with you.
Okay. Yeah, let's get him up there. Let's get him up on the mound.
that's his ERA if he pitches right now.
Yeah. What?
48.
48?
4.8.
4.8.
Oh, yeah.
Would you take that?
Yeah. Would I take Chris Carpenter on my team right now?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. If I'm starting game one of a playoff series, he's my number one guy. Baseball Jesus. Yeah, he took a rib out. He took a rib out of the guy, and he still pitched well. He's unbelievable. Hey, if the Cardinals trade Dylan Carlson, that likely means that Tommy Edman's going to be their center fielder, and Brendan Donovan's going to play second. What do you think of that? That's next on 101 ESPN.
perspective on the day's top stories. It's the Opening Drive's Fresh Take.
Brought to you by Schnucks Rewards. Reward yourself. Earn 2% back on every purchase with the Schnucks Rewards app.
This has been an interesting year for the Cardinals. By the way, it's 8:05. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Much of the year they spent being terrible, and you would hear charges off the record from members of the administration about how bad the defense was. Sometimes even on the record, we got infielders playing the outfield, right? We heard the manager complaining about that. Mm-hmm. Now it appears that they want an infielder to be their regular center fielder by perhaps moving Dylan Carlson and moving Tommy Edman into center field. And I am somebody whose introduction to great baseball was maybe the best defensive infield in the history of the game, with Obrick fell at third, Ozzie at short, Tommy Herr at second, Keith Hernandez at first. Best shortstop, best first baseman ever defensively. And so when the Cardinals talk about moving a Gold Glove second baseman like Tommy Edman to center field, I pause. I wonder, is it the best use of Tommy Edman to have him in center field? And he doesn't have the best arm. And is it the best use of Brendan Donovan to have him at second base when he's such a terrific utility man, which is something you need in baseball this year? I wonder if the Cardinals would be better served. I believe they would, to keep an excellent center fielder like Dylan Carlson in center field and have an outfield of Nootbaar, Carlson, Walker, and have an infield of, when he gets here, Mason Wynn at short, Edman at second with Arenado and Goldie, and then Ivan Herrera is your best defensive catcher behind the plate. And then if you're going to have your best players play, Nolan Gorman's got to be your DH, which unfortunately for them causes them to have a very expensive bench player slash DH slash catcher slash left fielder
slash potential outfielder as
in
they
Wilson Contreras.
move Dylan Carlson.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. If you want to have your best team, then you should keep Dylan Carlson. And money should not play, the contract of Wilson Contreras should not play a role here.
Don't you think that from what we've seen this season and how they even constructed things, that they're fine with getting away from things defensively? They're looking for something else in particular. Right. It seems like offense has taken more of a higher priority.
It does. And that's one of the reasons that they've been so bad for 100 games.
Yes. Well, except for right now, Randy. They're hot right now. This is perfect right now.
They put Carlson in, at least last night, they put Carlson in center field as a defensive replacement.
Here's the thing. Do you think potentially Lars Nootbaar, or they see, and I'm trying to get in their heads with this, do you think that they see that Lars Nootbaar eventually could be a center fielder, or they just really like Tommy Edman? I get what you're saying about the arm, and a lot of people bring that up with Tommy Edman, but he has a very high baseball IQ that we've seen, especially on display this season. This is his first time ever in the outfield.
Brooke, my comments have more to do with Tommy Edman's excellence at second base than his lack of excellence. I think he's a really good center fielder, and I have no problem with the arm. How many times do you use the arm in a week in baseball anyway? 2, 3. And if he's throwing to third, he's fine. It's just making the throw home, which is maybe a once a week, if that, play. But he is legitimately a Gold Glove second baseman. He's one of the best. In the National League right now, he's the best defensive second baseman. If you put him out there and he plays 140 games at second, Tommy Edman is the best guy. So that's where my concern is coming from. And then, can Nootbaar play center field? Yes, but why not have a Gold Glove quality left fielder in Nootbaar and a Gold Glove quality center fielder in Dylan Carlson? What's wrong with that?
I agree. I said earlier, I think Dylan Carlson should be the everyday center fielder. You have Jordan Walker and Newt in the corner outfield spots. You put Tommy Edman at second base, and then you have Mason Wynn or Paul DeYoung until Mason Wynn arrives at shortstop. And then you can truly use Brendan Donovan in that utility role where he can play third base when Nolan Arenado needs a day. He can play first base. He can play left field. He can play second base. He can play all over the infield and still get over 100 games played in because he's going to be relieving people. And then you look at the catcher spot. Willson Contreras is going to play. If you play him 100 games total, his last 2 seasons he played 111 games, 112 games total, and that's between DH and catcher. So you're having a position where you got 40 games where you got a guy can come in and fill that void, and then when he's playing DH, now you're looking at around 70 games where you can have a catcher. That's half of the season. So I think that there are ways, if they construct the roster correctly going forward, without trading Dylan Carlson, because I'm with you. I'm in agreement with you, Randy. I think in terms of future potential, obviously Jordan Walker is ahead of Nolan Gorman and Dylan Carlson, but then you have Nolan Gorman and then you have Dylan Carlson as the guys that need more at-bats, need more opportunities. We've seen this play out. We saw Randy Arozarena not get enough opportunity and then go on and become what he is now. So if you're the St. Louis Cardinals and don't want to have that same fate, now, if you're going to get something in return, an ace-type prospect, now you have to weigh that option.
Yeah.
But if not, if you're just getting guys that are you're not certain that they are at the top of the prospect list or they are top of the guys that could be here in 2024, you can't make that trade.
And that's what they said that they're looking for, right? They're looking for young talent that could be ready to go for next season, where you're able to maximize it, not just for next season, potentially 2025, 2026 is too far away. And I don't disagree. I think Dylan Carlson is your best bet defensively as your center fielder. But here's the thing, and this is what I'm pointing to when I'm saying that it seems like they're getting away from that. Look at how things have been constructed defensively. Look at how they were fine going to the season with log jams in multiple positions. It wasn't prioritizing defense.
No.
It was prioritizing offense. And how they're fine with that with Dylan Carlson. I mean, even look when he was able to return, he was the guy on the outside looking in. So what do you think that shows about where they are looking at improving and what their priority is for the rest of the season defensively?
Well, they need to improve defensively. And to have your best defense, I believe you have to have Tommy Edman at second base. And if you really want to win, if you want to play good, clean baseball, then Dylan Carlson should be your center fielder. And you give him the opportunity, as Carey said, well, he's had such choppy opportunities, and part of it is because he's been hurt.
All of them have.
Right.
I mean, even Tommy Edman.
Yep.
I mean, when he was center fielder and then you put him back at second, he made some mistakes you typically wouldn't see from him because guys are going from different positions so often. Brendan Donovan seems to be the only one that can really maximize those chances.
Right, and they just need reps. Those players need reps to get better at the end of the day. By the way, CD, I have come up with my list of only three pitchers in Major League Baseball that I would trade Nolan Gorman for.
Okay, who you got?
I've got Dylan Cease.
Okay.
I've got Shane McClanahan. That ain't happening.
Okay.
And I've got, hate to do this, Zach Gallen.
That last one is that ship has sailed so long ago.
Sorry.
Zach Gallen.
And you know what? I would throw Alcantara in there too. Let me give you four.
You're gonna write a couple of wrongs.
Yeah, Alcantara. But there are very few guys. I need a controllable number one starter.
Yes.
And Tampa's not trading McClanahan. Arizona's not trading Gallen.
Is it in
Miami's
that
not
order?
gonna get rid of Alcantara?
Is that the order that you have?
If I'm going to do it that way, Alcantara's number one.
Okay. Despite what he's doing this year?
Yes.
Okay.
Cease is 2. No, McClanahan will be 2. Cease will be 3. Gallen will be 4.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, McClanahan's a stud.
Randy, do you have any people who are going to get traded who the Cardinals will trade for?
No.
Oh, okay.
Which kind of makes, unless there's a miracle, and we have seen miracles before, unless there's a miracle, Nolan Gorman is your Cardinals DH. Sorry, Wilson. I love you, Wilson.
Well, do you have to? That's my question: is what do you do with Willson Contreras moving forward?
Pay him a lot of money. Pay him a lot of
catcher.
money. No, Ivan Herrera's your catcher.
No, Randy, he's going to catch for 85 games a year. Herrera will catch for whatever that math is, 80.
I could see him doing like 7, a little over 70.
81 each.
Somebody says, brother Wilson is not playing 100 games. And my thing is, you really think the Cardinals are going to let the highest paid free agent not?
He's going to play 100 games. He's just not going to play 100 games at catcher. He's going to play about 80 80 to 85. 81 is a good number. Split it.
If he's
81
healthy,
and 81.
If he's healthy, they're going to find a way to get him in the lineup for 130 games.
Well, we'll figure it out.
Man, he ain't playing 130 games.
That's today's Fresh Take on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we've got an early edition of The Fight. Ryan Spilborghs is going to call the Cardinal game on Apple this afternoon. He's going to join us at the bottom of the hour, so The Fight is next on 101 ESPN.
Welcome to the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Carricker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. I'm Kerry Davis, joined by Brooke Grimsley, and it is time for the fight. And our fighter today is Kent. Kent, how you doing?
Oh, I'm all right. I'm just driving along 74, headed back to Missouri. So.
All right. Well, drive safely. Keep your eyes on the road. And are you ready to take on Randy Carricker?
Yeah, hopefully I won't embarrass myself. So
Well, Kent,
we'll see.
here's some news for you. Randy is a machine, okay? But that machine usually is only prepared for the fight at 8:30. You may have an opportunity getting to him 15 minutes earlier
Catching him
than
off his
his
game.
normal time. So, with that being said, here we go. Jordan Walker is at 9 home runs for the season after last night. Who is the last Cardinal age 21 or younger to hit double-digit homers? Is it Yadier Molina, Randall Grichuk, or Albert Pujols?
Albert Pujols.
Which pitcher did the Cardinals trade for Tyler O'Neill? Luke Weaver, Jaime Garcia, or Marco Gonzalez?
Luke Weaver.
Which former player holds the Cardinals' live ball era record for worst winning percentage as a manager? Minimum 2 seasons. Is it Branch Rickey, Joe Torre, or Ken Boyer?
I'm going to have to go with Joe.
Where did the Kelsey brothers, Jason and Travis, play their college ball at? Notre Dame, Cincinnati, or Pittsburgh?
Notre Dame.
All right, we will double check our score and we will bring in Randy Carricker.
Kent, how you feel?
I feel like the Cardinals ones, kind of helped, but, some of them I was just kind of guessing on, so we'll see.
All right, well, we will see if Randy's doing any guessing today. As I said, he's normally a machine, but that machine gets rolling at 8:30. So we'll see if he's mentally prepared. He comes in with his Diet Dr. Pepper. I asked him,
it's early,
why not Mountain Dew today? And he said he didn't need that caffeine. He was already sharp and ready to roll.
Yeah.
So good luck.
Thank you, CD.
I was talking to him.
Oh.
Say hello to Kent, Randy.
Kent, how you doing this morning?
Oh, I'm all right. I had my caffeine, so.
What do you do for caffeine in the morning, Kent?
Honestly, I drink Rain energy drinks because they're really good. They got 300 milligrams in them.
Nice.
So
Rain.
Give me a little kick.
Okay.
Never had that.
Yeah.
Have to try that out.
They're made by Monsters, like a company. So
yeah, I don't need to zoom that much.
All right, Randy, here we go.
All right, sir.
Jordan Walker is at 9 home runs this season after last night. Who is the last Cardinal, age 21 or younger, to hit double-digit homers?
Okay, I'm guessing that it wasn't Vince Coleman. I'm guessing that it probably wasn't Rick Ankiel. You know what, CD? I think I'll go with Albert Pujols. Uses the process of elimination there.
Which pitcher did the Cardinals trade for Tyler O'Neill?
Marco Gonzalez. Great trade. Great trade. Great trade.
Which former player holds the Cardinal live ball era record for worst winning percentage as a manager? Minimum 2 seasons.
In history or for the Cardinals?
The Cardinals live ball era.
Cardinals live ball era. Worst winning percentage for 2 seasons. I think this is going to go old school on us. So I'm going to take the lifeline here, sir.
Is it Branch Rickey?
No.
Joe Torre?
No.
Or Ken Boyer?
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, Joe was pretty much over 500. Boyer was hired, this is for 2 years, right? So Boyer was hired when Vern Rapp was fired after the 78 season. 70, and he only had a season and a half. He didn't have 2 seasons. It's got to be, I'm going to go with Branch Rickey.
Where did the Kelsey brothers, Jason and Travis, play their college ball at?
They played at the University of Cincinnati. Or is it Cincinnati University? University of Cincinnati. They enjoyed that skyline show.
Cincinnati.
They were good players. They're still good players.
What's the rookie, the receiver, Marty
Gilliard?
Marty Gilliard.
Gosh.
There you go.
Yeah, he'd get off practice and go out fishing at Bush Wildlife.
I thought he was going to be really good.
I did too. He had talent. He was a swell kid.
Yeah.
What was the issue with Donnie Avery?
He was hurt all the time. All the time.
And Brian
and he got drafted before Deshaun Jackson. That didn't help.
And Brian Quick couldn't learn a playbook.
Brian Quick never had a playbook and never had to learn a playbook. And I think that might have been part of Marty's problem. Well, yeah, I think that was probably part of Marty's problem. Sure.
Two more Rams train wreck wide receivers.
Sure.
What happened to Drew Bennett and Mike Sims Walker?
Okay, Drew Bennett was a Jeff Fisher special. Jeff Fisher got the most out of Drew Bennett that anybody could get. He comes here under Linehan, and he got his money, and he was happy and satisfied. Who was the other one after Drew Bennett?
Mike Sims Walker.
Mike Sims Walker. So that was the Cardinals after the Rams after the lockout in 2011 go out and sign 13 free agents. 13. Every single one of them failed. Ben Lieber, Brady Papinga, Mike Sims Walker. Yeah, Danny, defensive tackle Danny something. It was just an unmitigated disaster. The one guy that did work out was the guard that wound up playing left tackle a little bit short, fat. Oh, man, what was his name?
Goldberg?
No, he was a short guy. Harvey Dahl. Harvey Dahl.
Oh, I remember.
He was a solid player.
Yeah, but man, that was just an unbelievable disaster. That was the worst.
Well, let's get back to the fight, because the fight's the best, Randy. And was Randy able to finish off this week with a win, or did Kent come in the second Friday in a row, send us off into the weekend a little worried for Monday? Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
The fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis, with the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
Just win, baby.
I'm sorry, Kent. Randy Carricker was able to take you down in this fight 3-1.
Hey, I got at least one, so works for me.
There you go.
Thank you.
There you go.
go.
Let's go through those answers. Jordan Walker, 9 home runs for the season after last night. The last age 21 or younger Cardinal hit double-digit home runs was, in fact, Albert Pujols, who hit a bunch when he was 21 years old. Which pitcher did the Cardinals trade for Tyler O'Neill? It was, in fact, Marco Gonzalez to the Seattle Mariners. Which former player holds the Cardinals' live ball era record for the worst winning percentage as a manager, minimum of 2 seasons, with a record of 166 and 190, 2 seasons worth of games? Ken Boyer with a 466 winning percentage is the worst winning percentage since the live ball era. Branch Rickey just passed him with 486. Joe Torre, 498, just below that 500 mark for his career as a Cardinal manager. And where do the Kelsey brothers, Jason and Travis, play their college ball? They both played, as Randy said, at the University of Cincinnati. The University of Cincinnati. And that's Skyline Chili. It's a 3-1 win for Randy Carricker. Kent, thank you so much for joining the fight and joining the show today.
Thank you. I had fun.
Thank you, Kent. Great to have you with us on 101 ESPN. Coming up, Cards and Cubs today, 1:20 on Apple TV. Ryan Spilborghs is going to be the analyst for that game, and he joins us next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals yesterday pushed their winning streak to 6 games with a 7-2 win over the Chicago Cubs in Game 1 of their series. Steven Matz with the start, 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts for his first win of the season. The Cardinals back in action, 1:20 p.m. today. It's on Apple TV, and it'll be Jack Flaherty facing off against the lefty for the Cubs, Justin Steele. Steele on the season, 9-3 with a 2.96 ERA. That is your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
With Brooke Grimsley and Super Bowl champ Kerry Davis, I'm Randy Carricker. It is the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis, as Matthew mentioned. Cards and Cubs on Apple TV this afternoon, 1:20 start, and Ryan Spilborghs will be in the booth for Apple. Of course, you can hear him on MLB Network Radio afternoons with Loud Outs. He does great work with Brad Lidge, and he joins us now on the Celebrity Line. Spilly, good to have you with us. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's kind of funny. Trying to get down the elevator in Chicago, and I was waiting for a couple minutes. It looks like I just missed it. So I'm going to do this interview and hopefully get an elevator at some point today.
Okay.
Make it to the game.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, let's start with this. Just a kind of a broad overview. The Cardinals were horrible for the first part of the season. Now they've gotten hot. Why do you think they've gotten hot?
It's always a couple of things. You can see some of the guys are hitting, right? Nolan's hitting the ball well. Last night's game, as you're watching against the Chicago Cubs, Marcus Stroman wasn't in the strike zone. It looks like plate discipline's a little bit better. But, I mean, there's still the same underlying problems with the Cardinals, which I don't know if it gets addressed. I don't know if it can just turn around like a snap of a finger. I mean, defensive efficiency, I'm sure you guys have heard people talk about this when it comes to the Cardinals. The worst defensive efficient team in baseball. That's a stat on Baseball Reference. Basically, it's just balls in play turn into outs. And right now, they just have not been good. You have a pitching staff that pitches to contact, a lot of hard hit contact going through. So, you go through these little stretches. It's really good to see. I think from a Cardinals fan, I mean, this is, in all the radio that I've done, I've kind of, I don't want to say mocked because I don't think that's the right word, but I don't think I feel much sadness for a Cardinals fan, especially because it's the first losing season in 15 years. I mean, I was like, would you like to be would any Cardinal fan trade with the Rockies fans right now? Or, I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of hard to put into perspective what a Cardinals fan's pain is right now, when there's been a lot of teams that are like, wait, hold on a second. Like,
well, while you're enjoying the pain of Cardinals fans, because that was my takeaway. No, I'm just kidding. But as you're looking at this, everybody's talking about selling. We had John Mozeliak, the president of Cardinals baseball operations, speaking the other day about possibly making some trades and moves because of their performance in the first half. But then you have this team getting hot. Do you see a situation where the Cardinals can still sell but remain competitive at the same time for this season?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think the problems that need to be addressed are pitching. And so John knows that. John knows that he has to find ways to get pitching. I think my problem with the Cardinals, and again, like, just I'm coming from an unbiased perspective. I'm looking at you and this organization through pretty clear lens. And I think what I see is that you have assets. Like, for example, Jack Flaherty, who's throwing tonight. That's a pretty nice trade chip. But the problem is so many of the players that the Cardinals have underperformed. And so the value that you're going to get in return for Jack Flaherty or Tyler O'Neill or Dylan Carlson or Jordan Hicks is maybe not to the same level that I think the organization is expecting. So you kind of get put in this predicament where they're going to be asking for somebody's top prospect for some of these players. And I think a lot of industry-wide are going to look at it and go, you know what, I really like the player, but I can get Lance Lynn, or I can get Lucas Giolito, or I can go get Marcus Stroman, or there's a lot of players out there where, to be honest, I think the Cardinals, if they are moving their players, organizations are going to be getting a bargain. And so that you're selling at probably the lowest value that some of these players have had in their careers, and that puts John And it puts, to be honest, it puts the Cardinals in a weird spot where it's probably better to hang on and to see what could happen.
Spilly, who are you talking about there in terms of players that are underperforming that if the Cardinals move, it could wind up being an Arozarena or an Adolis Garcia? We've got our list of names here. I'm interested to know who you think is on that list that they could move that would haunt them.
You know, I do think Jack Flaherty would come back to haunt them, even though he's a free agent. I mean, the walk rate for him industry-wide has been, questionable. Like, he's not quite the same guy that we saw from 3 years ago. We know he's been dealing with injury. But, I mean, he's also kind of a rebound candidate for me when he comes from those injuries. Those take a while. So it's almost like, do you want to extend him, which is not a great idea either. So that one's going to be the one that I think haunts you, because I could picture Jack in second half of the season going off, or maybe even a year from now getting back to form. So I think those ones are always going to bother you. I think in the case of Tyler O'Neill, here's somebody that I think, I think internally the organization is expected 30-30 because he has that capability. He can run, he can hit for power. But I don't know if he turns into a Randy Arozarena or a Adolis Garcia. I mean, again, going back in the past, the Cardinals had Zach Gallen. The Cardinals had Sandy Alcantara. You guys had really high prospects. And they were moved for players that, for Marcell Ozuna, which ends up, at this moment now, when you look back on it, you're like, man, that's really bad. So, they're good. Again, for me, from watching what the Cardinals have to do or need to do, and then what they want to do, I don't know if it's going to match up the way that everybody envisions.
Ryan, do you think that this winning streak for the Cardinals has been kind of a worst-case scenario for John Mozeliak? I mean, you talked about they need pitching at the trade deadline, but they're also looking at trading two potential pitchers because they don't have a contract for next year.
I mean, anytime that you win, that's fine. I mean, I don't think there's any organization or player that, and I hear what you're saying. You cannot just count on results all the time. Sometimes you have to do what's right for the organization. There's times where, teams make trades even when they're above 500. I think in this case, you're still 9 games below 500. And I don't see, again, so many of the underlying stats don't validate a significant run for the second half of the season. They just don't. So you can't fall victim to a 7-game stretch. I mean, I love this thing. I've said this to people sometimes. You guys love football. 162-game season is the equivalent, a 10-game stretch is the equivalent of 1 week in the NFL. So, if you win one game in the NFL one weekend, is that going to change the trajectory of the season if you're below 500? No. So, you have one strong week in Major League Baseball. You have one 10-game stretch. Does that change the trajectory of the season? And the answer should be no.
Jordan Walker, at least, has been a bright spot for the Cardinals this season, regardless of everything that has been happening. What are you hearing of the excitement around Jordan Walker, around the league? And he had a big night last night, too.
Yeah, I think when it comes to Walker, we love the kid. We love the personality. We love the story. We love the size of the human. I feel like, again, numbers-wise, it's hard to discredit, when you have certain defensive metrics, and Walker hasn't particularly graded out very well in right field. So I know he's young, and there's so much room for improvement. And you got to remember, what were you guys doing when you were 21 years old?
Champaign, Illinois.
Yeah, I was eating crusty pizza. Being late for class at UCSB. So you have to allow players to develop. I think, to look at a kid that's that young and expect him to be bigger than what he is really far-fetched. Major Leagues is so hard. And to hit at one side of the ball is really great, but as we've learned, these new rules and the way that the game is kind of developing, you really have to be able to play both sides of the baseball unless you're just an absolute beast when it comes to hitting.
Ryan, the trade deadline approaching, some big names out there. Does Shohei Ohtani get traded?
He should. I mean, my term for it is malpractice. I mean, if you've ever seen any of the versions of what Ohtani's trade value is, it's not a compensation pick. Ohtani, especially if this team doesn't make the postseason, which it doesn't look like. I mean, the Angels have the ability with a player that they've already gotten the best bargain in baseball for the last 6 years. They have a chance to kind of reset. And the craziest part is they can still re-sign him this offseason. So they could use him. They could trade him now. They can get 3 or 4 players that could help, bring major league talent to their team that is young and controllable, and then they could still re-sign him. So I think you have to. I think that the Angels are at a point where they have to.
Spilly, one last thing. Give me a team that is not the Atlanta Braves that represents the National League in the World Series.
Oh, man.
It's hard, isn't it?
It is the National League. I've said it goes the Atlanta Braves, and then it gets really weak. I think Baltimore is capable of winning the World Series on the American League side. I think Toronto is capable of winning the World Series on the American League side. It's hard because you need to have the pitching that matches with anybody. My guess is maybe Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Philadelphia maybe it could be another run for Atlanta in the National League.
Spilly, grab that elevator. We will be tuned into Apple this afternoon for Cards and Cubs. Thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, you guys. Anytime.
Take care. Ryan Spilborghs, he'll have the action this afternoon. Cards and Cubs 120 game on Apple. Looking forward to that.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about Jordan Walker and his season.
Yeah, I am. And I do agree. Ryan Spilborghs, he's a Rockies guy, a Rockies analyst, and he's buddies with Nolan Arenado. But he does look at this through a clear lens. And especially when you look at it through a Rockies lens, you say, Cardinal fans are complaining?
Yeah. I think he had a good point about, Cardinal fans and the trade. I guess what we could get back in trade, the maybe overvaluing some of the guys that we have, believing that they are going to give us something back in return. And that's kind of been my main concern the entire time with this trade deadline. What are you going to get in return that can help this roster? Because we talk about prospects, that's wonderful, but they are something unproven and unseen. So just it's going to be an intriguing deadline for the St. Louis Cardinals.
That's Carey. That's Brooke. I'm Randy. Coming up, absolute verifiable proof that Major League Baseball is stupid. Next on 101 ESPN. Back in my day, the last weekend of the season in 1985, the Saturday afternoon game, Cesar Cedeno hit a home run off of Jay Baller, and the Cardinals, against their arch rival Cubs, clinched the National League East Division, went on to beat the Dodgers in the NLCS and go to the World Series. Back in 1998, Mark McGwire, 9-8-98 against the arch rival Cubs and against his rival Sammy Sosa, hits his 62nd home run with the Cardinals and the Cubs playing against each other, arch rivals. One of the most iconic moments in baseball history, where McGwire missed first base, and then as he's rounding the bases, all the Cubs are high-fiving him, and Sammy comes in and gives him a hug. 2011, the Cardinals are roaring back in September, and Carlos Marmol, not Oliver Marmol, Carlos Marmol with a bases-loaded walk and then a wild pitch to allow the Cardinals to come away with a victory against their arch rivals as they stormed towards a playoff spot and ultimately the World Series. The last time the Cardinals will see the Chicago Cubs in this 2023 season is July 30th. Isn't that terrible? So you've got this weekend against the Cubs, the last 4 games that the Cardinals play in Chicago this year, and then the last time the Cardinals see the Cubs is next Sunday. A week from tomorrow, or a week from Sunday, is the last time the Cardinals see the Cubs for 2023. How tone deaf, how stupid can baseball be to have a schedule that doesn't have the Cardinals and the Cubs seeing each other in August or September?
Especially
it's
September. Coming here and being able to be around in September, Cardinals and Cubs, I feel like that's some of the best baseball. It's exciting, it's fun, and typically the Cardinals can do really well at Wrigley, as we've already seen with this first game. And that's why I was saying yesterday, this almost feels like going into the series like it's September Cardinals and Cubs because of the meaning and behind it and what is needed for the Cardinals and what's at stake for both teams right now. But it's also good for baseball. Rivalries are always good for baseball and every sport in general. If you're looking at growing the game, rivalries are a huge part of that.
And I hate that we have accepted, as a baseball fandom, the dumbing down of us and of the game. Because what baseball is saying is, well, everybody gets to play each other and everybody's going to play the same schedule. No, they are not playing the same schedule. All you need to do is look at the steamroller. Look at the National Football League.
Yeah.
Everybody sees every team every third year. Ryan Spilborghs mentioned that a week in football is 10 games in baseball. This was so simple and is still so simple. All right? Cards, Cubs, Cards, Pirates, Cards, Brewers, Cards, Reds. 9 at home, 9 on the road. 18 games against each other. You build that rivalry. If you win a division, you win it legitimately because you've beaten your rivals. 10 other teams in the National League. 3 at home, 3 on the road. 60 games. Okay, you've got 72 games that you've played within your division. 60 games against the rest of your team. You see everybody in the National League. American League, you've got 3 divisions over there, right? Every third year, you have a home and home with an American League division like the East, Central, or West. 30 games. So, for example, you get 6 against the Yankees, 3 at home, 3 on the road. 6 against the Red Sox, Rays, Jays, Orioles. That's 30 more. That's 162 games. Everybody in your division plays the exact same schedule. Everybody in baseball plays the same schedule as what they're playing within their division. You preserve the integrity of the rivalries, and you don't waste Cards, Cubs, Yankees, Red Sox, Giants, Dodgers, Rays, whoever their rivalry would be, Rays, Jays, whoever it would be. You don't waste rivalries. Right now, baseball is wasting rivalries, and that should be the hallmark of baseball. The fulcrum of baseball should be based in those rivalries.
And I think with the way that ratings have gone up, because that is very important to note, ratings have gone up. There's more people going to games. We talked about that. They put out some of the first half stats, and everything numbers-wise is going up with viewership, people going to games, paying attention more, and the audience is even getting younger, which is everything that they wanted. I think that has more to do with the pitch clock than the balanced schedule, and I hope that they're able to separate that between the two.
I hope so too, because I don't see, this isn't a really real balanced schedule. That's my problem with it.
No, it's really not.
The one thing that the NFL also does is they play that final rivalry game, division game, the last game of the year. So you have that built-in drama, too, if both teams are vying for a division championship. We've had times where we had to go to Baltimore and win that last game and win the division in Baltimore. You get your hats and your T-shirts. That matters. You saw the Packers and the Lions last year playing in a huge game, essentially a playoff game, where if the Packers would have won, they get into the playoffs. So it does help with building that rivalry, building up that fan base, building up TV fans wanting to watch it. It becomes must-see TV, especially when both teams are vying for something in that division, trying to win it.
College football does the same thing, too.
Yeah.
You keep your rivalries towards the end there.
They
because
brand it that way, too. Rivalry week is the last game of the season.
And it's part of some of my favorite football to watch. It kind of gets me invested. Obviously, we all have your teams that you're rooting for, but then it kind of makes me more invested in other teams because I'm like, ooh, this is a really good rivalry. And I want to tune in and see what's happening.
It also does something for the teams because even if you're a bad team, you got something to play for. You're playing against your rival. You don't want those guys to win. And just like I said, the Lions and Packers, the Lions already knew they couldn't get into the playoffs because of what Seattle had done, but they could keep the Packers out of the playoffs, which gives you something to play for.
Yep. And let me make one other point about the schedule makers. And it used to be that it was a couple in New Jersey that put together the baseball schedule, which is now done by computer. But you should plug in, and let's just use the Cards and Cubs because that's what we have. So the Cards and Cubs play in April. Then they both home and away. Then they play in June or July. The Sandberg game was a June game. McGuire goes there in July and has a big weekend. And then you have those same two teams play in September. It's a 6-month season. You aren't seeing too much of the Cubs if you play 6 games in April, 6 games in June or July, and then 6 games in September. I loved that, and I really think it enhances baseball financially because especially with a series like in a rivalry like we have, every single game is going to be sold out. And by the way, all the summer games should be played on weekends so that people can travel to Chicago from St. Louis or St. Louis from Chicago. It seems so simple, and I don't understand why Rob Manfred can't figure it out. And the only takeaway I have is that he's really stupid.
Is that your big takeaway?
Yeah.
I don't think that's where we want to go.
That's I just
okay.
I will say the pitch clocks worked out very well. I know the players have some feelings about it.
He's done a good job with that.
Yes.
And the shift banning of it. I love that.
All the rules changes have worked.
I don't like the ghost runner.
Yeah. And
I don't mind that. I don't mind
it for the regular season.
I don't mind that.
And here's
the damn game over.
Here's the other thing. Give Manfred. yeah. Right. You're right. I'm with you.
Bigger bases.
Yep. Give Manfred.
That was a big deal.
Look at all the stolen bases. It's brought action back into the game, Brooke.
Yeah.
Stolen bases up by like 50%. You wouldn't know it being a Cardinal fan, but they really are.
I know. I'm like, I didn't know that you could do that this season just watching the Cardinals.
Yeah. Give Manfred credit for hiring Theo Epstein to study and figure out what needed to be done. And there's more that needs to be done. They need to have the automated strike zone. But he has done some good things, but the schedule is a blind spot for him. And all he needs to do is call me. This is not hard. I'm accessible.
You are.
But he hasn't done it yet. And you know what? Bill DeWitt could do this, too. Bill DeWitt's a godfather of baseball, according to Buster Olney. There's a reason that all the negotiations during lockout were held in Jupiter at Roger Dean Stadium, because it's the Cardinals' home turf. So let's just get that fixed, and then we'll be good. I hate the fact that the last time we'll see the Cubs is in July. I just hate it.
Yeah,
I hate it.
It's not good.
No.
It feels weird.
And if you know what? If that's the thing I hate the most, I guess I'm doing all right, but I do hate it.
When's the last time they see the Brewers? Because that might be...
It's about the same.
Oh, well.
I think we might have them in August. Let me double check here. Let's see. Brewers? No, maybe we do get them in September.
Yep, September 18th.
There you go. Yeah.
Yep. And September 26th. So you got
okay.
them and the Reds to finish out the season. So you you don't have your rival, but you got a Central Division.
At least you got some Central
opponent.
Division games.
There you go.
Yeah. Cardinals wrap up the season, by the way, on is it October 1st?
But still, I mean, it's
against the Reds.
It's a no-brainer. You
got so much time left, Randy.
You take 4 of those Brewers games, stick them in this next Cubs series that's coming up to end July, and you flip-flop those, and all of a sudden it's a much better schedule for the Cardinals because you have September Cubs games now. Bing, bang, boom.
Well, you got Milwaukee, which is much better when you're trying to win the division. How about that?
They couldn't have known that.
They know it. They knew it. You didn't get the script. We all got it, Rocc. Jeez, pay attention to your email.
The Cardinals completed their draft last week. Randy Flores, the Cardinal scouting director, has been a busy guy. Yesterday, Brooke and I had a chance to talk to Randy Flores about the draft and more. And that interview is coming your way next on the opening drive on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here. This past winter, my father went through hip and then back surgery. After being active his whole life, biking and competing in triathlons, as he got older, the wear and tear led to constant pain and limited mobility. But finally, after getting surgery this past winter, he is back to moving around pain-free. He even visited a few weekends ago and he was able to get around great. He says that he wishes he would have done it sooner. You might be in a similar situation, just continuing to put it off, but anyone who has suffered from serious back or joint pain knows how hard it can be to find lasting relief. Here's the thing, though. You don't have to live in pain. You can find that relief at SSM Health Orthopedics. They are the experts at diagnosing and treating joint problems, offering many treatment options, including non-surgical techniques to find the best solution for you that fits you so that you can get back to doing the things that you love. So don't wait today. Visit SSM Health/Top Ortho. That's SSM Health/Top Ortho today for more information and to find lasting relief.
Welcome back to the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Brooke Grimsley, Randy Carricker, and it's a pleasure to go to the celebrity line and welcome the St. Louis Cardinals Assistant GM and Director of Scouting, Randy Flores, who has been busy over the course of the last month or so. Flo, it's good to have you with us. How you doing?
Well, I'm chuckling here because you said it's the celebrity line, so let's just go ahead and let's put a pause on that one.
Well, here, you've drafted a lot of good guys, and you still have that World Series ring. So once you have that in St. Louis...
Fair enough. Thank you.
Hey, first of all, we were all thrilled when you took the University of Arizona outfielder Chase Davis, who, by the way, is just a wonderful young man. What stood out to you about Chase Davis when you took him with that first Cardinal pick this year?
Well, Randy, as you mentioned, when you speak with him, you can just tell right away he plays and has such a great energy, right? He plays with a joy. Some would call it swag, some would call it flash, others would call it, energetic and convicted. And, having that at that spot in the draft down at 21 was something that we were excited to have. Now, as a player, you have a left-handed bat with athleticism, someone who can move around the outfield, whose arm supports, right field or traditional right field, and someone whose just trajectory is someone that we had been following since high school and really gained steam throughout his collegiate career.
Well, with Chase Davis, and really when you're scouting and evaluating talent, you're also evaluating how they will fit into the organization. What do you look at and need to see from a player to know that they will fit the Cardinals way, and what is your definition of the Cardinals way?
Well, there's a lot to kind of unpack there, Brooke, and I appreciate the question just regarding what we look for in an organization. And obviously, the path to the major leagues is so much different than the path to, the highest level of the NBA or the NFL. And so, drafting for organizational, quote, need is just not really something that we think a ton of when we're selecting our picks. That being said, we're looking for someone who has, aptitude, someone who is, willing to continue to learn, someone who doesn't believe that they're a finished product, and someone who, in the best case scenario, makes others better around them. And I think some of those are tenets of the Cardinal Way, however you want to describe it. There are pieces of that fit where, when you face adversity, you don't give up. And in Chase's case, his freshman year, he was on a College World Series contending team, and he had very, very limited playing time. So you have that on the heels of the COVID-shortened 2020 high school year, and then not play his freshman year. And it's really kind of a chance to see what a player does and what their resolve is. And he took that as a challenge. He got regular playing time his sophomore year. His sophomore year, he realized at the end of it, he needed to tighten up his swing decisions and his swing path, and then just really exploded in the Cape in his junior year. And so a lot of the traits that we look for regarding someone who has faced adversity and come the other side and is a good baseball player.
I'm always just intrigued also what you guys look at when it comes to, of course, you're looking at the stats and stuff that you mentioned there and what they're doing playing-wise, but what do you also look at off the field? Is it something with the personality and family, or what are some of the other aspects that you guys look at in your research?
Oh, yeah, look, that's the holy grail. All teams are searching for that. When you have major league talent, the tools that can get you to the major leagues, it so often is the stuff away from the field that kind of, has a chance to touch greatness, right? And you try to get a 360 view of a player, but really at the end of the day, they're people, and people change and they evolve. And so you're looking for someone who's honest with themselves and authentic with themselves. And Chase, in our interviews and with those who knew him, they remarked of his authenticity, that it isn't fake. It's someone who is going to work. And I think that's a very attractive trait to have.
Randy Flores, Cardinals Assistant GM, Director of Scouting, with us on the opening drive on 101 ESPN. And Flo, you mentioned personality, and you played for Tony La Russa, who every day told us, I'm sure he told you guys, hey, it's men, not machines. And so you have that background, right? He was a big influence on you, but you're a numbers guy too. So how do you balance that old school scouting and the tools you have at your disposal analytically to make the choice? And how does that balance come into play?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it is a balance. Look, what I think the uniform affords my lens is just an understanding and empathy for how hard it is to be a baseball player, how hard it is to be a sustained Major League Baseball player, and to understand that development is not always linear. It's not always linear. There are different paths. You look at our players, And very, very few start out what you project them to be and turn to what you project them to be in a linear manner. And so I think it's an understanding of all the support mechanisms necessary to increase the chances that a player reaches their full potential. So that's a strong pitching curriculum, a strong hitting curriculum, a strong strength and conditioning, performance, mental health, and support in the training staff. I mean, small things that you have the right people in the clubhouse, all the touch points that a player might have that can't be captured analytically. It's that human touch that might help someone reach what the analytics or what the projections predict. And so it really is, having every piece of the puzzle contend for its piece in order to get the best outcome of a player.
On day 2 of the draft, you guys picked up Stanford left-hander Quinn Matthews, and he was just really interesting and caught a lot of headlines because he had thrown 156 pitches in a game this season. I know that had to sell you guys a little bit too, but I found something else interesting, that he had co-written a 30-page paper on the internal brace surgical procedure, an alternative to Tommy John surgery. What all impressed you about him?
Well, let's just go with that 156 pitches. If you do look at my bio, I am a little old, and so I did come up in the age where they weren't counting pitches the way they were now. And I don't mean to say let's go back to those days, but what I appreciated as someone who has thrown that many pitches back in the days in college was I respected what it took to accept the ball in that time. The competitiveness it took, and here you have a very, very smart young man, a very, very competitive young man. A young man who knows what's on the line with his draft status, and yet he wants the ball. And if you watch his interviews after that game, he said, look, I wanted the Rocc. It's almost like a basketball term. He's like, you're not going to take the Rocc from me. And so someone who has that, who checked out, medically afterwards, I think that type of person and that type of competitor is someone you want in an organization. And so, yes, would we have preferred he not had 156, whatever it was, pitch outing? Sure. But the fact that he did is not a knock on him. It's something that is in his favor, actually.
Is he a guy, and Brooke mentioned 6'5", 188. I would anticipate that you will look at him as a guy that will fill out and turn into a really big man.
I would imagine he's been told that his entire life. And so, outside of strapping him down and force-feeding protein shakes, weight and man strength comes at different times for everyone. So, yes, our hope is that his frame affords him an opportunity to get, some more bulk. But already, notwithstanding that, he already has shouldered, a robust collegiate pitching load and has come through it healthy and ready for his pro career.
Okay, Randy, you get the thrill of actually drafting actual players that are going to wind up hopefully playing Major League Baseball. Our thrill is drafting fantasy players, but we get to the 7th, 8th round of a fantasy draft and we say, oh, I got the sleeper. This is the guy that's coming. In this draft, who was your sleeper? Who was the guy that you were thrilled about getting when you got him?
Look, it's a really hard one to answer because by mentioning one sleeper, it's almost as if the other 18 players are not sleepers. And so I got to be careful here.
Okay.
But one of the things that I do want to touch on is that whenever you get to a certain spot in the draft, you're always looking for where your scouts are directing you and in tandem with where the analytics are going. You're looking for that perfect balance. But sometimes just stories resonate. And in the case of a 9th rounder like Christian Worley out of Virginia Tech, our scout talked about him, and they talked about makeup, right? And in scouting, they often use a grade for tools, a 20 to 80 scale, 80 being the best ever and 20 being the lowest ever. And in conversations about this player who was rehabbing from Tommy John surgery, our scout said that this player has 90 makeup. And so when you're looking for someone who has, upside, when you're looking in that 9th round for someone who has better days ahead, and you're looking for opportunity, well, this player fit that, in that he was, unfortunately, is coming to us on the heels of Tommy John surgery, but has the makeup and the character and the pitch metrics and the past performance to think that he can come through this as a better player on the other side.
Randy Flores, it's remarkable to look at the success that you and your staff have had in drafting, let alone people after the first round. But we just look at first rounders, Dylan Carlson on the roster, Dakota Hudson on the roster, Nolan Gorman, Zach Thompson, Jordan Walker, all on the roster. How heartening is it for you that you and your staff have all of these people in a hard business to get guys to the major leagues that have been drafted that are not only key players for the Cardinals, but are contributing at a pretty high level?
Look, I think that it's an appreciation for our entire group. Our entire group. I'm the one, doing the interview. I'm the one pulling a magnet or talking or summarizing our thing. But it's an army of people, Randy, who work. Their lives are for this game, and various departments intersect in anticipation, preparation, and execution of our draft. And so I think, as a collective group, it's something we're very, very pleased with, but also the standard was set long before, I came here to St. Louis. The Cardinals have had a tradition of excelling in the draft. And so it's a standard, it's a responsibility, it's a weight, and it matters for this city and for this team. And so, I do appreciate you saying how hard it is, because it is hard. It's a challenge that we embrace. It's something that we have to be even better at. And we're working already to be better at it next year.
A couple more things. I know that you scout the area, but is there difficulty, because players always talk about how difficult it is to play in their hometown? Does that play a role when you are scouting the St. Louis metro area and you're choosing players? Does that have anything to do with it, knowing that when they get to the major league levels, there's going to be such a distraction because they're playing in their hometown?
That's a good point. I think it's a little tricky because the path to the major leagues takes time, right? So it's not, it's not an NFL player. You draft them in their hometown, they're playing for the hometown team. It's not that. And so things could happen. At the same time, some players embrace it. Some say they wish that they didn't. Some players, when they're 18, 19-year-old, they say, I want to play in my hometown. And then when they're 23, they're like, maybe it's good to get away from mom and dad for a little bit for this job and this career. So it's not really something that we factor in specifically in any measurable way. But it is something that I imagine players have to consider as they are facing possible selections.
And then the last thing, and you guys are working 24/7, 365. Here we are on July 21st of 2023. How far along are you and your staff in the draft process for next year already?
Oh, yeah. Well, Randy, it's crazy because the draft is now later. It's in July, where it used to be in the first week or so of June. And so, candidly, we were prepping for the 2024 draft while the 2023 draft had yet to occur. So our scouts were already in Cape Cod scouting the summer collegiate players. They were already scouting the Team USA trials for the 2024 draft, for this 2023 summer. And so it's already going on now. Here in the office, those of us who support the draft are now, working ahead of the trade deadline. And then immediately after the trade deadline starts a 2-week trip visiting the primary high school showcases, both in the East Coast and West Coast. And so it really is a year-round deal. And the unique part is that lately it turns into concurrent prep as you are finishing up the preparations for the draft while simultaneously looking ahead to next year.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing Chase Davis as he joins people like Carlson and Gorman and Jordan Walker in the major leagues. Congratulations on the way things are going. Randy Flores, it's great to have you with us. Good to hear your voice. Thanks for the time.
All right. Thanks, Randy. Thanks, Brooke.
Take care. Randy Flores with us on 101 ESPN. Of course, that interview, as we mentioned, recorded yesterday. Coming up, we've got our rush hour reset, and then Chip Caray will join us at the bottom of the hour here on 101 ESPN.
A day on the opening drive with a rush hour reset.
Brought to you by Clubhouse Turf, your exclusive partner of Celebrity Greens. We're redefining private golf.
Swing, fly ball, well hit, left. That ball's going, gone! Welcome to Wrigley Field, Jordan Walker. This one driven toward right. Suzuki going back toward the well. That ball is into the basket. DeYoung hits a two-run homer the other way. Popped up. Burleson at the first base bag. Foul ground has it, and that'll take care of business. The Cardinals have beaten the Cubs 7-2, your final score.
No question about it. I am ready to get hurt again.
The number of the day, Billy hops and kicks. The number of the day is 6.
Cardinals have won 6 in a row. Chip Caray to call. Yeah. On Bally Sports.
I just want to show off my dance moves now that we're on the tube.
Yeah. YouTube at 101 ESPN STL.
Sneezing. Who knows? I mean, it looks like the same thing.
6. Cardinals win again last night. Just a tremendous performance by our Redbirds. There are Redbirds again, by the way.
They are.
Because they've won 6 in a row. But a lot of good things came out of last night's game. As you heard Chip Caray call on Bally, you had the Jordan Walker first home run at Wrigley Field. You had Arenado with an RBI 2-run single early on. You had a great pitching performance from Steven Matz, who went 5. He allowed 1 run on 3 hits. And by the way, the 1 run, kind of a Jordan Walker, defensively. He didn't have the best play defensively. He's coming along. He is a novice in the outfield. He's going to be a really good outfielder.
At some point.
He just needs reps, and fortunately, he's getting those reps and making those mistakes. In a victory, 7-2. Cardinals have won 6 in a row. They've won 8 of 9 now, and they play the Cubs this afternoon at Wrigley. It's an Apple TV game, and Jack Flaherty will go. He'll be opposed by Justin Steele of the Cubbies.
Will he be able to keep up the momentum that the starting pitchers have had lately?
No question. No doubt about it.
No doubt about it?
No doubt about it. CD, I want you to hear this. On Sunday night, we're going to be joined by Dan Deerdorf on the 101 on Sports on the 2 Fox.
Okay.
It's at 11 o'clock, Fox 2. And our friend, the Hall of Famer Dan Deerdorf, talked about his career of playing on turf, and he tore up his knee badly in 1979. And I asked Dan about just the what effect playing football for 13 years, essentially all on turf, has had on his life. And here's Dan.
Well, yeah, and you know, most of us are, I'm trying to think of the right word. I almost said crippled, but we're
debilitated.
We've been damaged big time. And I tell people it wasn't football that did it. It was AstroTurf. It was barbaric that we had to not only play on that, but we practiced on it every day. And we might, at Busch Stadium, because it was a dual-purpose stadium, they couldn't put a pad under it. So it really was just indoor-outdoor carpeting rolled over asphalt. And we might as well have been practicing on the parking lot at West County Center. It wouldn't have made any difference to us. And unbeknownst to all of us at the time, we were getting ground to dust. Our knees, our hips, our backs, every one of us is paying a real price for it today.
Tough question, but I'm sure you've thought about it. If put back in that situation in 1983 or 71 when you got drafted, and somebody said, okay, Dan, you can do this again, but it's going to be under the same circumstances with the turf. Would you have done it?
Oh, well, yeah, because I to not have done it would have meant that I didn't play in the National Football League.
Right,
so,
right.
yeah. So, no, I don't sit around and whine and complain, but I also am aware enough that I have a lot of friends around the league who played for teams that had grass fields and who practiced on grass every day, and they don't look like we look. They're not hobbling around the way that all of us are. And that's That's just a reality. Physically, I would be a different person if I'd have been drafted by the Dolphins or the Raiders or the Rams.
He's absolutely correct. And when he's talking about the AstroTurf, the hard ground substance that when you land on it, it burns and tears off your entire forearm skin. You sometimes don't know that you did it until you get in the shower, and that is another burn that you deal with. It is like playing on concrete. It really is no different. And I tell people all the time, people say, oh, my God, that was a huge hit. How did it feel getting hit? Getting hit is not a problem. Getting hit and going to the ground is the problem. That's why when we're in practice and coach says, all right, it's live, tackle to the ground, you hear, because it's something about getting hit, getting on the ground, and having to get back up. That takes a toll on your body. And when you're running on essentially concrete over and over and over again, knees, hips, everything starts to grind. I don't have cartilage in my knee right now. My knee is bone on bone. I've had 4 knee scopes on my left knee because of lack of cartilage. It's the wear and tear, and I played on that AstroTurf my first 3 years at Illinois. We didn't have field turf. We had the old AstroTurf that is extreme. That you would not understand the level of heat until you're on that field in the middle of July, August, early September. Your feet feel like they're going to burn off as well. So, yeah, it takes a toll on your body.
Quite a visual when you hear him say, little did we know our bones were being ground into dust.
Hasn't a lot of players, too, like Odell Beckham Jr. spoke out that they want to go back to grass. And he was speaking in regards to his Sterling Shepard.
That's better than the AstroTurf. The AstroTurf
Do you think they should go back to grass?
I love grass. I would much rather play on grass. It's softer. It still hurts like hell when you fall and land, but it's softer than the field turf, and it's softer than the AstroTurf was.
Sunday night on Fox 2, we'll also talk to Dan about Don Coryell going into the Hall of Fame. Dan played for Don 50 years ago when Don Coryell took over the Big Red. And also, Dan was the chairman of the CVC when things really got going in terms of the Rams leaving. He has some really interesting comments about the departure of the St. Louis Rams. So that's Sunday night, 11 o'clock on Fox 2, the 101 on Sports. And then after that, you'll be able to see it on our YouTube channel where you watch us every single day. Brooke, Carey, Randy, and Chip next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals yesterday moved their winning streak to 6 games with a 7-2 win over the Cubs. They will try to push it even further with a 1:20 p.m. game today in Chicago. Jack Flaherty facing off against Justin Steele for the Cubs. The lefty for the Cubs, 9-3 on the season with a 2.96 ERA. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find new roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffAutoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
It's the opening drive, 101 ESPN. Brooke Grimsley, Kerry Davis, Randy Carricker, Chip Caray, the Cardinals play-by-play voice on Bally Sports, joins us on the celebrity line. Good morning, Chip. How you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
Good. So today's an Apple game, so no Bally today. My sincere hope is that I see Jordan Walker hit a ball over the basket in left, and I see a shirtless Chip Caray reaching for the home run ball.
Hasn't America suffered enough already? No, that's not going to happen. I can promise you that. I don't even want to see myself without a shirt on, much less the rest of America.
Hey, how much fun have you been having, though, during this streak? This has been great, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been fun. I think we're seeing the Cardinals playing the way that I think we all thought they were going to play from the opening bell. We've seen stretches of it at different times this year, but as you said, with a 6-game winning streak, this is the first extended stretch of play where everything has gone right. Nolan Arenado's taken his defensive game to his platinum glove level status here after the break. Offensively, the team is scoring a ton of runs. The starting pitching has been excellent. Really happy for Steven Matz, by the way, who finally picked up a win. And guys like Jojo Romero, who came out of nowhere, have really helped stabilize things and given Ollie some options in high leverage situations late in games. So it's a promising start to the second half. There's a lot of work still to be done, but hey, winning 6 in a row beats the alternative, and hopefully Jack can make it 7 straight today.
Chip, do you think that this recent play will change how John Mozeliak and the Cardinals approach the trade deadline?
I don't know that for sure, but my guess is it won't. I think that the challenge that we're all facing, at least from my perspective, is, historically the Cardinals are a team that a good season's when you have a chance to win the World Series, not just win the division, right? And I think if we look at this group honestly, are the Cardinals a team that could take out Atlanta? Are the Cardinals a team that could take out the Dodgers or the Tampa Bay Rays in a postseason matchup? I don't know that the answer to that would be yes. So saying that, I think you have a unique opportunity now to retool, not rebuild, but retool and take advantage of the resources you have that probably are going to be tough to re-sign and utilize those and get more assets that you can add to your club for next year. And, hey, if you want to go back and re-sign guys as free agents that you potentially could trade, you would certainly have the opportunity to do that. But, my personal feeling is you got to look at this club and say, is it a team that could win the World Series? I don't know if the answer to that is yes.
Do you think that the trade deadline could potentially clear up some of the confusion in terms of who's playing where everyone is going to be every single day? Seems like now we're back to the outfield being full of people and not enough room, and we're still trying to figure out what's going on with catcher with Wilson Contreras. What do you see the future being for this Cardinals team after this trade deadline?
Yeah, Kerry, I think that's an excellent point. There's a lot of redundancy. It's good redundancy, but there's a lot of the same stuff all over the diamond, and I think that poses a unique set of benefits, but an even more unique set of problems, and that's exacerbated by injury. Tommy Edman's out. He's got a bad wrist, so he can't play in the outfield. Okay, if he does, then that bumps somebody else out of position, right? Brendan Donovan can't play in the infield or the outfield. He can't throw, but he can hit. Well, that means you can't DH somebody when you need to do that. So I would assume that that's something that Mo's going to look at. They're good players all over the diamond for the Cardinals. Who goes or who stays is obviously beyond my pay grade. But I would not be surprised if some of that logjam is cleared. And I think it needs to be, quite honestly.
Hey, Chip, as we look around right now in baseball, it's really hard to find a comp for Nolan Gorman. I guess Kyle Schwarber might be the closest thing to Gorman. There's not many left-handed guys with light tower power. And you talk about a guy who just appears to be ascending. Do you feel that same way, that Gorman is kind of an unusual talent that the Cardinals have?
He reminds me so much of Lance Berkman with his swing left-handed. I mean, he's incredible. Light tower power. He's probably the Cardinals' best double play turn guy at second base, and he's only 24 years old. I mean, he's still learning on the job, and I think we're also guilty of being quick to judge what a player is or isn't in the infancy stages of their major league career. This is his first full major league season. I mean, he spent some time in the minor leagues last year. I didn't see Nolan play all that much last year, but he's going through the ebbs and flows of learning what to do and what he is and isn't every day for a team that was expected to contend for not just a division title, but for a whole lot more this year. And I think he's passing that test with flying colors. He just looks so calm in the batter's box. He has a much better approach at the plate from what I have seen, even in the early days of spring training. And as you said, he's got that lightning bolt in the bat that a lot of teams would covet, and I'm sure the Cardinals know that as well. So his present is very, very bright. His future is even brighter, and I'm really happy for the year he's having.
Yeah, not many 23-year-olds even have a chance stepping in against a tough lefty. Not many 23-year-old left-handed hitters. And as long as he gets reps against lefties, I'm not convinced that he won't be able to hit very well against left-handed pitching either, because he's shown us that he can.
Right. Well, that's the old that's the old saw, right? How do you know you can do it if you don't get a chance to do it, right? And he is going to fail sometimes. It's not going to be the prettiest thing. It's not going to be an easy challenge for him. He told me, he said, I actually hit lefties better than righties as a kid because I saw a lot of them. So that doesn't bother him. He just has to do it at this level. And you're right. Getting the reps is important. Getting the opportunity is important, but also taking advantage of that opportunity is just as important as well. And I think by and large, he's done that.
I know that you weren't here last season, but have you seen a difference with Ivan Herrera and his progression? And how do you think that they'll handle that catching position moving forward?
Oh, you had to ask that one, didn't you?
Of course.
From what I've seen and heard from the Cardinals folks who followed the team last year, Ivan was just a young kid, kind of like what we've seen. Let's back up a bit. We had a stat on the broadcast a couple of nights ago that might surprise a lot of listeners. The Cardinals have the second youngest roster in the National League and the fourth youngest roster in the major leagues. And that's on a team that has Adam Wainwright, Nolan Arenado, and Paul Goldschmidt on it. So think about that. These guys are learning at the major league level. Herrera's no different. Last year he had just a few stints with the big league club, had I think 10 at-bats, had one hit, looked overmatched at times. But he has really done an amazing job of preparation. His maturity level is sky high. The greatest compliment I can give a catcher is you don't even notice he's back behind the plate when he's playing because he's so smooth and so calm back there. So, yeah, he's done an amazing job. And to answer the other part of the question, it's a good dilemma the Cardinals have. They've got three guys that can catch. Contreras did a nice job last night. Kisner's been an excellent backup. He's got to play too. Herrera is going to play. So I'd imagine you'll see all three of those guys play over the course of a week. I don't know how Ollie will split up playing time. But, yeah, all three guys are going to play behind the plate, and we'll see who seizes the job and does the better job defensively.
Chip, your broadcast partner threw out the first pitch a couple of days ago, and I would have to say by standards of a former Major League pitcher, not stellar. What was his reasoning behind such a poor pitch?
Well, it's just like his career. I mean,
yes, get him, BT. I hope you're listening.
There's a lot of there's a lot of pressure. I mean, his kids were standing on the mound. His wife Andrea was on the field. He had Fred Birdie egging him on. He just absolutely choked. He pulled the pitch. He dropped it in front of the plate. He said it was a 2-strike pitch.
Okay.
And he bounced it. So I'll give him that. But no, he's been a great sport about it. And once you do that, I've actually had a chance to do that before. It is kind of intimidating when you stand out on the mound, even if you're a non-professional athlete like I am. When you stand out there and you've got to throw the ball in the air 60 feet and 40,000 people are watching you, it's kind of intimidating. So he's been a great sport about it. It was a lot of fun. And, hey, anytime we can make cannon fodder out of Brad, it's a good day for all.
So, Chip, not many opportunities for you to watch a game from the stands at Wrigley. Are you going to sit in the stands today or the press box?
I'm undecided. I'm not sure what I want to do. Wrigley's great. It's a crowded press box. That's part of the problem. Yeah. And I sort of crowd people with my size, so it's a little bit difficult for me to find comfort in the seats or the press box there. But I love going to that place. It's a special place, obviously, for personal reasons and for family reasons. Last night was cool. They had my grandfather singing, take me out to the ball game on the big board, which was cool. It's a special place. They've done a great job with the renovations, and everybody's still so welcoming and nice. even though I've become public enemy number one as a Cardinals trader. But I love going to Wrigley. Love seeing the people there. Love the neighborhood. And I'm not sure yet what the plans are, but I'm sure I will be seeing the game for sure in some venue.
By the way, I want to tell you a quick story. It'll take less than a minute.
Sure.
Game 5, 2016 World Series. A guy from St. Louis buys tickets on a rooftop for $1,500 a pop. A rooftop at Wrigley, gets there, and he's right behind the Budweiser sign. $1,500 to watch the game on TV.
Caveat emptor, baby.
Yep. Let the buyer beware.
That's it. Yeah, that was. They've done an amazing job, though. I was there doing the games when concrete chunks were falling out of the ceiling on the concourses. And they truly have done a remarkable job of keeping the flavor of the old ballpark. The ivy and the bricks and all that stuff is great, but they really modernized it in a spectacular way, and the Ricketts family deserves a lot of credit for that. It's not as cool or as diverse as Ballpark Village is in St. Louis, but they've done their own unique rebranding of Wrigley Field to make it modern, and hopefully it'll be around for another 100 years.
Chip, great to hear your voice, and it'll be good to hear you back on the mic tomorrow and Sunday. Thanks so much for the time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Anytime, guys. Have a great weekend. Keep this hot streak going. We're having some fun.
You bet. You too. That's Chip Caray, voice of the Cardinals on Bally Sports, joining us as he does every Friday here on the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Coming up here with Matthew and Brooke and Carey, we've got Rocc and Roll on 101 ESPN.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
Or Rocc and Roll here on 101 ESPN. Matthew, what do you got for us?
Well, Randy, our long national nightmare is finally over.
Oh, good.
As Josh Harris and the sale of the Washington Commanders has been completed. But the real thing here, the real thing I needed to let you know about, Randy, and unfortunately, you're not going to get to play the old theme song, or the old fight song 100%. But ESPN's Donovan Nada Jr. joined the Rich Eisen show yesterday, and he broke down what he thinks might be a first pillar in the new Washington organization.
Do you think it's possible they even change the name? Just to get rid of, just remove all trails and traces of Dan Snyder. Do you think that's possible?
I think so. Yes, I think there's a pretty good chance of that, to erase any part of the Snyder legacy, to have a complete do-over. I would not be surprised at all, Rich, if we see a name change and a complete rebranding.
Catch the Rich Eisen show every single...
So there it is. The Washington Commanders, for just a couple of years, no longer the Washington football team, no longer the Washington Redskins. So they could have a fourth different name in 7 years, which would be completely unprecedented in the last 60 years of modern NFL history. This is like what they used to do back in like the 1930s and stuff with franchises and things like that. But I think here's how you simplify it. You just go back to the superior name that was the Washington football team.
No,
that was good.
It was fantastic. The jerseys were so much better.
Should just say football team. Just say football.
I'm good with that.
No.
Here's the thing. I'm fine with them changing the name because I'm good with erasing anything with Dan Snyder. What a piece of crap, by the way. I'm so glad that they're completely done with him, and congratulations from moving on from him. And I know that he's one of the many NFL owners that we could talk a lot about negatively, who's not a good person. We know there's a lot of NFL owners who are not good people. But Dan Snyder, everything that has come out, I mean, what a scum of the earth.
Yeah, he's
piece of crap.
Bad guy.
I want to say other things, but I'm limiting myself.
Really, the only thing that got him out, all the other stuff, the other owners were like, oh, okay. But the fact that he wasn't doing the
he took
sharing their money, that to them, oh hell no!
Right.
You don't mess with our money. You can do what did you do in your own time is your business.
It's okay to film cheerleaders. It's fine because guess what? Some of them were also looking. Remember all the emails that came out? John Gruden, yes, everything that came out.
One name that came up as a possibility when they got rid of the Redskins name was the Red Tails as an homage to the Tuskegee Airmen.
I like that one.
And here's another one, and I don't know that they would use this, but how about an homage to one of their owners, the Washington Magic?
Magic also earlier today. I couldn't get the audio, but he was on one of the morning shows, and he talked about how there will be a discussion potentially about changing the name.
I don't know. I do like the Red Tails.
I like the Red Tails
Rebels
too.
for some reason popped into my mind. I
didn't hate like the Red Wolves.
Red Wolves.
I didn't hate that either. I thought that that's a fine
but
franchise.
You can also
name.
bring back the song because you can't say "Hail to the Commanders," but you can say "Hail to the Red Tails, Hail Victory," or "Hail to the Red Bulls, Hail Victory, Hail Brave." But so you have to have something on the warpath. Anyway, just ideas.
Rebels. I can get my...
You can't do Rebels anymore.
Why?
It's too politically incorrect.
All right.
What do you mean, why? You know why? Ole Miss had to change their mascot. They didn't have to change the name, but they had to change their mascot from what it was. It was like the running. It was like the running Reb or something like that. He had like a Confederate uniform on.
They
changed Fanatics.
What's UNLV's name? Aren't they still the running
Rebels?
They were the running Rebels.
I think they might have. Again, they don't have to change the name, but you have to change your mascot. And
we had to change our mascot as well.
Yes, as Chief Linowek obviously knows.
We represented. When I were just a block eye.
Carey, there was one thing I wanted to throw out to you yesterday, but unfortunately you had to leave early. And it's just all these running back debates are being thrown out. And my question that I threw out to these guys off the air was, is this potentially kind of like the pitcher situation in baseball where there's a split between how the youth position is handled and how the pro position is handled, and that creates a discrepancy? Because you have guys who start off playing football in 6th grade, and from 6th grade through their junior year in college, they're touching the ball 30 5 times a game
absurd.
without failure. So is there potentially a block maybe in how the positions held by college and youth coaches and how they handle the running back position than how the degradation of their bodies happens so early in their NFL career?
I played running back, fullback. I would, if you are the parent of a high school running back and your coach is giving your son the ball 35, 40 times a game, you all need to have a conversation because that is absolutely absurd. You're running him into the ground. And I understand there are some teams, some offenses, he might be the best player. You got to find somebody else to help him and alleviate some of those run plays because it's too much. I do think that, NFL owners understand and GMs understand, hey, the notion that we can put anybody in this position and we will have success, I don't think it's fair for that running back position because some of these guys are elite at what they do. They are the best of the best. And so just saying the next guy up could do what they do, I don't agree with that. But, the running backs are going to have to find a way to make themselves more valuable. Bijan Robinson, who hasn't played a down, is going to be the highest paid running back this season, which, again, is absurd. And that's something that they got rid of with the NFL.
The quarterbacks were doing it.
When the quarterbacks were doing it. When Sam Bradford was the last $1 million baby, now they have scales for each one of those positions and allowed the players that actually have played and earned it to make more money. So maybe they have something in store for the running backs with that type of mindset going forward.
It's incomprehensible to me that a position's franchise number could go down, and running back is the only position where it's happened.
It continues to go down. However, they are one of the most vital parts of an offense.
Got to be able to run the ball.
Just ask anybody that does fantasy football.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And one final thing, good luck to St. Louis City SC. Their first match in the group stage of the Leagues Cup is on Sunday, 6:30 against the Columbus Crew.
Go SC.
Go SC.
Absolutely.
Because we care about any kind of hardware, right?
That's our producer and audio engineer, Matthew Rocchio.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Brooke, it was a good week.
It was a good week.
What are you doing this weekend?
Just hanging out.
Good for you.
Yeah,
just
gonna
hang
go
out.
work out.
Enjoy yourself.
Hang out.
Good. How about you, CD?
He was going to be negative about the Leagues Cup.
No, I was going to be negative about this basketball tournament in the middle of the NBA season.
Oh, that one too. Okay.
I ain't give a damn about that hardware. What the hell is this?
No, cash.
I care about that.
There you go.
Sign me up.
Let's see. Number one pillar.
All roads
lead to hardware.
Let's go City.
Yeah.
The hardware it comes at the end of the season.
Balloon party coming up with T-Mac and Ajax. We thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show for all of us. Until Monday morning at 7. Have a great weekend, St. Louis.
That's right.